Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Cheltenham Festival special. We've got a bumper team for you, and we've got 13 Grade 1 races to preview for you as well, ahead of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. We will have a Matchbook pod every day at the festival for you, but that is just a little way off at the moment. So this is our look ahead, our look out to the Cheltenham Festival. And I've got a stellar team lined up for you. We've got a brilliant team with Adele Mulrennan. Matt Toombs is joining us to give us his selections and also some key stats as well on overbet, underbet horses. Steve Jones is alongside. Lovely to have you here, Jonesy. Declan Rix, as ever, is there with us for the Matchbook podcast. And Micheál, Matchbook's own, who that you can see he's decorated his own bedroom in Matchbook get-up, because that's the sort of guy he is. It's great to have you all alongside, and great to have you watching us as well. If you're joining us live, fantastic. If you've got any questions, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are, put those questions in and I'll put them to the panel, because I can see them and we can ask away to the panel. So if anything comes up during the live preview, then just let us know and I can get that over to the panel. The way it's going to work is not everyone will have a view on every race. We want bets only. We want proper views, hardcore views, if you like, that specific views, rather than just any of that wafty stuff, which is essentially what I'm doing now. We want proper views. So that's what we'll be doing. And as I say, Matt will be chipping in with some stats along the way as well. Before we get stuck into the racing, Micheál, Deasy, you have got a new offer for us. Take it away.
Yes, so we're launching a new sign-up offer tomorrow. So this is going out live on Wednesday evening, but this is live tomorrow morning from Thursday morning. So it's 0% commission on all sports. Sign up tomorrow with the bonus code INSIGHTS and you'll be set to 0% commission. That will make us best price on everything for festival season. It'll cover Cheltenham, entry and everything else in between.
Absolutely that. So you're guaranteed, and with the exchange anyway, you're likely to be best price, but without that commission, then you are definitely going to be best price without any commission for the new customers. And you go to matchbook.com/promo/insights for that. Right, should we get stuck in to the first race of the Cheltenham Festival 2021? It is, of course, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. And we know the likely field that's going to be lining up for this contest. The person I'd like to come to first, if I can, right down there in the middle, is Rixie. So take it away for us. Supreme, where are you looking? Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. Deasy, give us prices first for the Tuesday first race. Supreme Novices Hurdle. Prices, if you can, first of all. How's it looking?
Yeah. So we have Appreciated is the favourite at 3.05. Micheál is 8.2. Ballymore is 9.0. Soaring Glory is 10.5. Blue Lord is 17.0. The Devil's Coachman is 19.0. Real Deal is 28.0, and his massive price is the rest.
Okay, Rixie, as promised. Appreciate it, top of the market, with or against?
Look, a pretty boring start for me, but I'm probably going to be with him. I think the prices there DC put up about him are very fair. Obviously, those are exchange prices, so you know the story if we don't run. But I've tried my best to try and get him beat here. With all the races run out, but I just can't do it. I've got him £5 clear on ratings of Ballymore and Blue Lord. You know, he's coming from the Mullen stable who do so well in this race. You know, how many times have they kicked off the festival with a winner in the Supreme? He does everything right, this horse. He jumps and he travels. He hasn't been winning fast run races this season, but the way he goes through his races, I think that the Supreme is going to really suit him. He's a horse with a high cruising speed who's probably going to stay a bit further in time, and that's exactly what you want. He's not a super slick jumper by any means. He's very safe, but look, I don't mind that. I think Paul Townend will probably bump him out, Ruby Walsh style there. He'll be in the first 3 or 4, and it'll be kind of catch me if you can job. So look, he ticks an awful lot of boxes. He's £5 clear. You know, in over 2 miles, he's got 5 lengths in hand. If the ratings work, of course, which is another matter. He was a little bit disappointing, I thought, at the Dublin Racing Festival, but despite being a big, sizable horse, I actually think this lad wants nice ground, and he was super, super impressive at Leopardstown at the Christmas meeting. I think it's probably, I don't know if it's a positive or a negative that he took a step back and he still managed to win a Grade 1 with authority at the Dublin Racing Festival. I'm going to take it as a step forward. No horse has matched what he did over Christmas yet, hasn't even come close to him. Willie Mullins trains his horse to improve throughout the year. So, look, it's going to be a boring start for me. I'm going to stick up Appreciate to kick off the week with a winner.
And while you're there, have you got anything at a bigger price that you'd have alongside if it lines up?
Yeah, look, there is one horse who ran behind Appreciated in that Christmas run, and that's Joseph O'Brien's Kescon Risk. He started his career with Joseph in Corrigley, I think it was, at Ferryhouse, when he only won by a short head. But I thought the race didn't pan out well for him that day, and he did incredibly well to actually get up and win. And then at Christmas, Joseph's horses weren't running great, but it didn't stop him from still taking a massive jump forward from his Ferryhouse run. Look, he's got 12 lengths to find on Appreciated, but Appreciated did take a little step back the last day. And if Joseph can get another bit of improvement out of this horse, I think, I could easily see him hitting the frame at a very big price. I think good ground will suit him. It looks like we're going to get decent ground there. I think he's tailor-made for the race. For a horse that, of his inexperience, he jumps well. And Joseph's horse, now more importantly, are in much better form. So I'd be looking at Kescon Risk potentially as a kind of a value outsider at a big price if people don't want to stick with me with the boring selection in terms of Appreciated.
One thing you are never, Rixie, is boring. And incidentally, you mentioned the ground. Simon Clace has said today, just a week and a half out from the festival, effectively, that he expects it to be good to soft on the morning of the first day. Never. Who'd have thought it, eh? Unbelievable scenes. Mind you, it isn't always, most of the time. Right, so we've had a shout for the favourite, Kescon Risk at a bigger price. Going to come to Team Betfair Hurdle winner, Adele. Kick us off. You like the horse that won at Newbury?
Yeah, Soaring Glory. I completely Appreciate it, and I respect his unbeaten record, but he has kind of had it quite easy, which you won't get at Cheltenham. So I'm playing the place market. So purely on the fact that he's 10.5, which is a nice price for him. Shishkin had fallen before going to Cheltenham, and so had this horse. And I like it when they've shown mistakes, because it means that the team at home get a chance to kind of work on the little chinks that they have in their armour, and it just gives them a chance to put it right before heading to a big day. He's done loads of schooling with Yogi Breisner, and I think it showed at Newbury. He looked a lot slicker and he looked a lot better. So I think he's worth his chance in this, and given the price for him, I think 10.5 is worth a place bet against a horse who has had it quite easily. Don't just hack me. I think he's had it quite easy, and I don't think he's going to get it the same way at Cheltenham. They never do. So place bet with Soaring Glory.
You and Dan Skelton, eh? These mullet horses having it easy out in front. Jonesy agrees with you, don't you, Jonesy? I suppose that win last time, Steve, he got a fair old hike for that. That ruled out another go in a handicap, and he's a Betfair Hurdle winner, so entitled to line up here.
Yeah, and he beat what would have been the champion hurdle winner, obviously Edwardstone, but he doesn't run in the champion hurdle, but we won't go into that. Really like this, because usually in both sides of the RSC, novice hurdles, they tootle round and then something wins with a bit of a turn of foot. But when you get in a race like this and they go quick and you've got to jump accurately and you've got to be able to finish off that's exactly what the Betfair Hurdle is all about. And that this year, the Betfair Hurdle was a very, very good race, in my opinion. I think it was a real good year for that race. And we've seen in previous years, horses that win that race, novices, go on and run well in the Supreme. The likes of Clonashnikov, Ballyandy was fourth, My 10 to Yours was runner-up, Get Me Out of Here was runner-up. And I see it all with Appreciate It, but I'm getting on a bit now, and I've seen all these before. Oh, everyone, get on the favourite in the Supreme. Oh, no, we're all skint. What are we going to do in the Arkle? And it made me feel quite old, because I remember You'll Never Walk Alone going off 5-4 for this and getting mugged, and Dungeeb and all sorts of horses. They all get beaten this. So Soaring Glory, win and place for me. I think it's got a great chance.
See, the thing is, Jonesy, that while the favourite always gets beat, how many Betfair Hurdle winners have won the Supreme?
But you've got the place money. How many of them finish out the frame? Not many.
With that, Matt Toombs, take it away if you can. But I know you on this, you've done a bit of work on stats for Betfair hurdle winners running in this. So I think you're pretty much going to echo what Jonesy's just said there. But flesh it out for us if you a little bit if you can.
Yeah, I think Adele's place bet is a good call. Soaring Glory was the 9th novice in 12 years to win the Betfair hurdle. 7 of the previous 8 went on to run in the Supreme. As Jonesy said, 3 of them have finished second. Soaring Glory was winning off 133. That was the lowest mark of any of them. Kalashnikov was off 141. My Turn to Yours 149 and Get Me Out of Here 135. I usually do a preview with the ex-handicapper Phil Smith, and because there's so often a Betfair hurdle winner near the front of the market in the Supreme, he usually makes the point that handicappers can give winners of a big handicap like that a mark with a lot more confidence than they can those winning graded novice races. Soaring Glory's got 143. And history backs that up. On Racing Post ratings, both Kalashnikov and My Tent or Yours ran to the same mark in the Supreme as they did at Newbury. Get Me Out of Here actually ran to £1 lower. So they didn't take another big step forward in the Supreme. Soaring Glories ran to Racing Post rating of 146 at Newbury. The last 8 Supreme winners ran to a Racing Post rating of between 156 and 166. So he's got a fair bit of improvement to find to win a Supreme. History says it's unlikely he'll do that, but he might well be placed.
So essentially, for all that we 0 from 7 they are, that's an obvious stat, I suppose. You're not going to make any money back in them. But for the place, it's not a bad shout given the prices that they are currently. But it's the improvement they've already shown, Matt, which means that they've done that level of improvement, and the handicap has got a pretty good gauge of where they are. Whereas the Grade 1 performers they haven't reached anywhere near their ceiling yet. Would be your view on it? Yeah,
exactly. And so often the winner of the Betfair hurdle as a novice looks really exciting, and therefore people tend to latch onto them. And they think they're going to keep improving. And the ones we've mentioned haven't kept improving. They've generally held their form. So I think Soaring Glory will be popular. I think he'll shorten up. But he's more a place bet than a win bet, I think.
And Adele, you are strictly place bet with that. Do you want to add anything?
I am. I mean, you go on about, obviously, Betfair hurdle winners, but how many 7-year-old winners have there been? Not any in the last 10 years anyway. So surely that's another reason to appreciate it.
Matt, how many 7-year-old winners have there been in the last few years?
7-year-olds are 1 from 31 this century, and only one of those 30 losers was placed. Now that does include plenty of long shots, but as Adele infers, the 5 and 6-year-olds often improve past them and appreciate it. He was running in points 3 years ago. He ran in 2 graded bumpers last year. He's running 2 Grade 1 novice hurdles. So he is a fair bit more exposed than these. And you have to imagine that some of them are going to improve more than he will coming into this. Whether they'll improve past him, time will tell. He's definitely a lay for me on that basis. I probably will wait until the day. He was backed off the boards at the Dublin Racing Festival. So although he might look a bit short now, it wouldn't surprise me if come the off he's even shorter. But he will be a lay on the day for me.
I remember watching that. I think Rixie on the WhatsApp group you were texting as well when Appreciate It. He was absolutely hammered it was jaw-dropping stuff. And actually just on Appreciate It, Rixie, if I can come back to you before I get the DC's thoughts. Adam Timsley has said, do the panel think the distance is too short for Appreciate It? Apologies if you answered that already. You obviously don't, Rixie, but do you see him as a horse that is going to go on over fences potentially next year and get further than this?
Yeah, no, I do. See, look, the thing usually with the Supreme is it's run at such a gallop. You know, a horse doesn't really quicken in the Supreme. I think to win the Supreme, you need a horse with a very high cruising speed who's able to maintain a gallop. Think your Classical Dreams, all those kind of horses. And he kind of fits the bill for this, to be honest. So no, I think if anything, the fact that people think you'll be better over and further in time is potentially a positive. In any of the races I've watched him in this year, he's always looked like he'd easily be able to go a faster gallop if they want. And like I said earlier, I think the step back from Christmas to the Dublin Racing Festival might have actually been ground related despite being a big horse. So no, I have no worries about that at all.
Stayer wins the Supreme, fast horse wins the Ballymore. Them's the rules. Matt, anything at a bigger price in that?
Well, if he runs, I'd be interested in the Devil's Coachman. He got 145 today in the county hurdle, so it's far from sure that he'll line up here. But he is JP's only entry, and he does like to have a runner. He was only fifth to Appreciate It in the Future Champions at Christmas. He looked pretty green there. He just had a bumper and a maiden hurdle, and he's won a couple of times since. Back in the day when Noel Mead often had a hot pot in one of the novice hurdles, the concern was they'd been hard trained over the winter and that they wouldn't peak at Cheltenham. It almost looks the opposite here. He looks like he was soft trained in the autumn. He's really progressive now. He looks. I'm with Rixie about this. You need a cruising speed in the Supreme, and then to be able to keep going, which is why it's a test of stamina at the trip. He looks to have a really good cruising speed. If he does get the trip at the end-to-end gallop, then he could well be the value in both the win and the place market. So I'll be listening to the vibes about whether this is his target, and if it is, I'll probably be backing him.
Lovely. Deasy, if you have a prize for the Devil's Coachman, by all means, let us know it. And we need to get your selection, if we can.
Devil's Coachman is 19.0, but he's going to run in the county hurdle on Friday, I hope.
Is that what you're going to back him for that, are you, Deasy? There you go.
I've backed him already, and I'll just touch him down now as well while I'm going through my other horses. So the first one I was going to put up was Ganapathy, who is also entering the county hurdle and has been back today, so I'm a bit disgusted with that. But Ganapathy, the Devil's Coachman, and Appreciated both they all ran the same card in Cork. I think it was in November. And I just went back and had a look at the times and had a look at the sectionals, and Appreciated. I think it was Rick said it there. Like he from the third last home, he absolutely bought. His sections were unbelievable. I think he was doing 10 seconds between hurdles, very, very fast. But the rest of it, he was quite slow. And Ganapathy and the Devil's Coachman were much faster than him in the start of the race. I think Ganapathy is quite a strong traveller. After that race, he ran in the Moscow Flyer and he came second to Real Deal, but he made a bad mistake at the last. He ran in the race that Goyard and Manil won at the Dublin Racing Festival, finished fifth. That was over 2 mile 6. I think that 2 miles in the Supreme Novice would be perfect for him. He's 40.0, so I would have a small win bet and a good place bet in him. He's owned by Joe Donnelly as well, trained by William Mullins. He said that he would improve with a bit of experience. So he's one that I was looking at. And the other one I think was Harry Fry's horse, Metier. I think this horse could be, he's a bit forgotten because he hasn't run in a while, but he's a very good horse. His 3 runs so far have been outstanding. He has a high cruising speed. He should stay. He won the Talwart very, very easily. I think, and I heard somewhere that Harry Fry doesn't really like sending horses to Cheltenham, or he's a bit against it, but I think he's got a great chance in this, and he's 8.2. Again, he's an improving novice. He could be anything. So if I was going to back anything just for the win only bet, I'd have Metier and I'd have a small bit on Ganapathy win in place.
Lovely start. I think Harry Fry was sort of linked into the Rooney comments a few years ago on that as well. Just before we move on, Shane has got in touch, and you don't have to answer this, panel. Last Noel Mead Festival winner, ? Long while ago. Was it an Albert Bartlett winner? I don't know. If anybody knows, by all means shout, but there's nothing jumping at me.
It was the Gigginstown horse who won the plate, was it? Road to Riches, maybe?
That shout. Quite like that. Very good, Rixie. Yeah. Is that a concern for Toomsy for you? Is that trainer form?
Not so much the prices. He has actually trained the winner of the Supreme, the Ballymore, and the Albert Bartlett. He's got a much better record in the hurdles than in most of the other races.
Interesting stuff. A few of you come in with Road to Respect. Good stuff. All right, let's kick on. We move on to the Arkle. DC, prices for the Arkle. What's Shishkin?
Shishkin is 2.08, and you have Energumene is 3.5, All Mankind 8.4, Captain Guinness 22.0, and Franco de Port 30.0, and anything you want in the rest of them.
I am remaining impartial for this whole broadcast, whilst also saying Shishkin 2.08. Steve Jones, tell me why that's such a good bet.
Well, it's not particularly great value, but he'll win, won't he? Because he's the best horse and he's got the track form and he's done everything you want him to do over fences. I spoke to Nico the other day for a piece for the Mirror, for the Daily Mirror's racing coverage for Cheltenham, and he said he's just complete package. And although he doesn't compare horses like Altior and Shishkin, that's the kind of way you got to be thinking. And I know this is quite a deep Arkle this year. It hasn't been for a little while, I don't think. And this year it's a real cracker. But I wouldn't go overboard at price, but Shishkin will win for me.
Shishkin for you, 2.08. Rixie, I know you like to make use of the without market, which there will be on the day. It's not there now, but there will be a without market on the day. Who would you be having without Shishkin?
Yeah, look, the two horses at the top of the market, Shishkin and Energumene, are seriously good novices. I think if both of these horses ran in the Queen Mother this year, they could be single figure prices. To be honest, I genuinely think they're that good. It's probably just worth mentioning there's been a little bit of money around for Energumene in the Marsh for the last couple of days. I don't think it's anything significant, but if you're an anti-post backer of him in the Arkle, I just wouldn't be massively surprised if he did go in the Marsh. That's just something to bear in mind. Look, I have absolutely nothing against Shishkin or Energumene. They're two absolute weapons and novices. The only thing is, Energumene looks like a very kind of heavy topped, big, strong horse. And, a lot of his form is on very, very soft ground. And I'm just not sure how the old course is going to suit him on better ground come Cheltenham. So I think of the two, if I had to back one of them to win, I'd be backing Shishkin. I think he is going to win. Although it should be remembered, he came down that hill like a crab last year, which wouldn't exactly fill you with too much confidence, but maybe that was just greenness. So look, I'm going to side actually with Captain Guinness without Shishkin. I think that's the way to play this race. I've never kind of got the buzz with Captain Guinness for a while, and I'm a bit late to the party, but he was running absolutely huge behind Energumene in the Irish Arkle the last time before he tipped up 2 out. The strange thing about it is he's actually a pretty good jumper. He comes from the Henry de Bromhead Academy. They've got some of the best jumping novices in Ireland or in Britain, really. He to me looks like he's going to be much better on better ground. And the way he travels, I don't think they can go as quick as they like here. I don't think he'll have any bother travelling with these horses. Look, the jumping is a potential issue, but as I said, in general, he actually does jump well. It's not ideal. He comes here on the back of a fall. It wasn't even actually a bad fall. He kind of knuckled over on landing. It was a little bit strange. But look, I just think if the ground conditions continue to get quicker and Energumene isn't as good on this on kind of good to soft ground, I'd be pretty confident Captain Guinness can be as good on it. He just might surprise people and run bigger than his price. So look, I'm going to stick Captain Guinness up without Shishkin.
Captain Guinness without Shishkin. I just want to bring in Tom Williams' comment. Shishkin's drift on the day last year and the time before that at Newbury. Will that happen again this time? Feel free to pick up off that, Rick. I mean, he went off at a big price last year, didn't he?
Someone needs to ask Nicky Henderson about this. That drift was colossal. Now, I think we have to remember on the day there was a seriously massive punt on Abracadabras. And, obviously things have got to balance out, and that's maybe what it was. And maybe people just didn't feel he was ready for the test on the day. But I hope someone in the media really does ask Nicky Henderson about that, because he was, was he 6-1 SP on the day? Yeah. I mean, he was bigger price on the exchanges, I'm sure. So it would be good to find out if something happened. But part of that might have been Abracadabras was such a massive gamble.
It's a fair point. I remember watching it thinking, hang on a second. And then he went and came down the hill like a crab and still won, as you said. You brought up an Energumene then, and also the price on him just taking an ease out ever so slightly. Matt, I know you like the horse. You love a front runner in the Arkle. What is that a worry for you that Willie Mullins bingo that he might go elsewhere or not?
I don't think so. I think that the money in the Marsh was when there was a perception that Envoy Len might not run at all, and that Willie, who loves to duck a challenge, would then run away from Shishkin.
I got you. So, I see what you mean. Sorry, can I bring in Adam Tinsley's comment has made me laugh. Energumene eats all mankind first, then spits out Shishkin, is what he said, which I absolutely love. I love that sort of confidence from you, Adam.
It's going to be funny if all mankind goes and wins this with all the back and two between Team Mullins and Team Skelton, isn't it?
Do you not think that's mind games from Dan Skelton saying we're definitely going to go forward, so you're going to have a rethink? Matt, is there a chance that we get like a footpad Arkle where two horses kill each other up top and it sets up for a closer?
There's always a chance, but I doubt it. I mean, that was a real freak occurrence when Petit Mouchoir and St Calvados just cut each other's throats. So I would imagine that Willie and Paul are perfectly happy for Energumene to take a lead.
Yeah, you would. That would be interesting to see how that plays out. Who else haven't heard from? Deasy. I know, Adele, you're sitting this one out. The guys will be sitting out a couple of races here where they don't have strong fancies. That's exactly what we want. Deasy, you've got a bit of a love affair with Franco de Port, don't you?
Yeah, similar enough to Rix. I'll go for him in the without market, and I'll probably have a place bet on him in the win market. The other two, I can see him staying on. I think that he'll stay all day. He was unlucky at the Dublin Racing Festival. He was in a good rhythm, then I think he hit one of them in the back straight, just kind of knocked his momentum. But he still passed everyone else. I think he was beating 10 lengths, but he would have gotten a lot closer than 10 lengths if he hadn't made the mistake. I think he's a massive price. He's 30.0 for this. I'd be happy enough to be back them, just place them in market, and also have a little play with him in the without Shiskin market. Although I think Shiskin will win. I think he's an absolutely top class horse. But I'll go for something at a bigger price as well. And
Rixie's made a case plenty of times for without the favourite markets and why their value on these podcasts before.
We will have them on the days where we don't have them at the moment, but we'll have all them come the festival.
Anybody want to add anything to the Arkle? Good. We kick on. Let's go on to the Champion Hurdle. I can't. This is the one I'm most looking forward to now. Tuesday's Champion Hurdle. Adele, we didn't hear from you in the last race. So we'll come to you first, but Deasy, give us the prices. Honeysuckle, Epatante, they were fighting it out last time I checked. Honeysuckle's clear favourite.
Honeysuckle is clear favourite now, 3.7, and she's been backed all week. The money keeps coming from her. Epatante is 4.5, Goshen is 5.2, Silver Streak is 17.0, Abacdabra 17.5, Sharjah 19.5, Aspire Tower 22.0, and then you have Bouverdare, James Burley at about 26.0, and big prices the rest.
Bigger prices the rest, including Jonesy's anti-post selection. Adele, is that your money on Honeysuckle? You like her?
Yeah, I do. I've always liked her. How could you not? Especially after the Mayor's Hurdle, she left everyone wanting more, and she didn't disappoint at all. I thought she was very impressive. When winning at the Dublin Festival, I thought her performance was 10 out of 10. I thought she looked a lot sharper, a lot slicker. I thought she looked a lot speedier. I thought she looked like every jockey's dream. So, how can you go against her, really? And Rachel gets on so well with her. So, yeah, she's kind of one of my best bets of the week. So, Honeysuckle for me, I think it might be another 10 out of 10 performance.
That was last time was ridiculous. Just bring in Tom's recent comment there, and Adele, put this to you. Tactics wise, what are the tactics on Goshen, Honeysuckle, and Epatante? That Adams came up just after that, but Tom's before that is what are the likely tactics? How do you see this playing out, Adele?
Well, I wasn't quite sure with Goshen, because I always think Goshen. I always kind of think, well, I thought maybe last time he might have just let him kind of run on a little bit. He needs a strong pace, doesn't he? And I think Rachel, she knows Honeysuckle so well now. I think she'd be quite happy to just maybe take a lead, and she knows when to kick on her, and she knows when where the winning line is. So I wasn't quite sure how it would work out. I think Epatante will take a lead. Goshen, I'm not sure if there's not much pace. Will he go forward on him?
I think they I spoke to the owner actually a couple of hours ago in a Racing TV interview, and I think the key that they're pointing out is that they just want him away from horses. Crowded is no-go for Goshen. They need to have him away from horses. And you remember what the Willie Mullins team did to Gordon Elliott's mare, one of the greatest ever mares, and I can't remember her name. And they crowded her and they kept her at it. And I think that really put pay to her chances. So I just wonder, I'm sure the other riders down at the start will be aware of Goshen and just thinking, he's a horse you might be able to get at it, and I think that'll be interesting. Anyway, Matt, I know that you've got something to say about Goshen, so pick up on that if you can.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be laying Goshen for a place, I think. He looks a bit of a bolt up or bomb out merchant to me. It was great to have him back and track in the Kingwell, but there was almost a one-horse race. The Beulah Winner Song for Someone was never going, and he was the only one still galloping. It was heavy ground, going right-handed. And so coming back to a left-handed track, much better opposition, likely much quicker ground, I can see him shortening further. And then when we get the place lay markets on the day, then I'll probably be wanting to take him on in that.
And the stat you've got for this race, which is going to link us into Rix's selection, we talk about some races at the festival. I know that Gold Cup, you and I have had conversations about it before, where you tend to want a horse that hasn't taken in the race before because it can leave its mark. This is a slightly different profile of a race.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, the Gold Cup horses tend to regress because it's such a tough race. Much younger horses generally coming for their first run in the Champion Hurdle, and as they get more battle hardened, they tend to improve. This century, placed horses from the previous Champion Hurdle are 5 from 16. You'd have made a 209% profit backing them all blind. So that's a great stat for Sharjah, especially if he gets the better ground. He likes to help bring about that bit of improvement.
And just while we're on the ground, if you can just finish up your selections, if you can. Honeysuckle, if it's softer than maybe expected for you, is that right?
Yeah, definitely be with Honeysuckle if it's soft. If it's much more of a sound surface, then the Geldings, Abacadabras, Silver Streak and Sharjah all come into this. I'll probably be backing one of those, win and place, and that would give a lot more depth to the race. I've been laying Epatante, and if we get a sound surface and those horses are right in it, I'll probably be laying Epatante in the place market as well.
Rixie, we got the stat there from Matt on Sharjah, and I know he's a horse you like. You got a lot of respect for. You think he's often underestimated, is he?
Yeah, he is. We saw that over Christmas again, but I think, but the thing is with a horse like Sharjah, they don't really capture the public's imagination because Sharjah's brilliant one day and he's terrible the next. And we saw that, from Christmas to the Dublin Racing Festival. To be fair to him, I think they raced on a different track at the Dublin Racing Festival, and the ground was much, much slower than what he'd won on over Christmas. That proper Irish soft heavy ground is no good for him. I think kind of spring soft, as we saw last year, you can go on it no problem. But I just I have a lot of respect for the two mares at the front of the market. Epatante, obviously, the race probably felt much kinder for her last year than it did Sharjah. She was in a bit better tactical position, and I think there was a real slow up in the pace heading to 3 out, and Sharjah was too far back while Barry Geraghty was just sauntering into it on Epatante. But then, she obviously blotted her copybook at Kempton over Christmas. I think she's the most likely winner still for me, basically because I don't think Honeysuckle is going to have the pace on proper spring ground on that old course at Cheltenham to go with some of these horses. I could be completely wrong, as Adele already touched on there. She looked a much sharper, quicker filly in everything she did the last day at Leopardstown, but that was Leopardstown, quite a galloping, stiff 2 miles and on very soft ground. The old course at Cheltenham is much sharper, and the ground is probably going to be, if Simon Clace is right, it's going to be much quicker. So the bet I'm going to have, the bets I'm going to do is, because Epatante has kind of blotted her copybook last time, I'm going to play Sharjah, win in place, and I'm also probably on the day gonna, if the ground is quite good, lean into kind of good to soft, good in places. I'm going to back Sharjah as well without Epatante. I'm happy to take on Honeysuckle at the prices. Nothing against her as a horse. How can you have anything against her? She has yet to be beaten, but I'm still not sure she's got the required pace in a good ground Champion Hurdle.
Lovely stuff. I know that, Jonesy, you're a big fan of Silver Streak because you put him up a few times here, and look, I tell you what, if he gets good ground, is he a backable price, do you think?
Well, why does he need good ground? He's as long as it's not heavy or properly soft, then why does he need that? And you keep saying he's my boy, and the only time I backed him this season was at Newcastle in the Fighting Fifth when he was ironed out at the first or second or whatever it is.
I genuinely thought you backed him. Did you not have him at Kempton last time? Or when you did? I
think I said I think I probably said some flannel about how he looked good, but how can you take on Epatante? And then he's destroyed Epatante. Epatante's the champion hurdler, and he's destroyed Epatante at Kempton. And you say, oh, Epatante didn't run a race. Well, I'm sorry, but he's
touched the nerve here.
He's destroyed it. You forced me into tipping him all the time through because you say this, and I have to tip him because I thought you'd take the piss out of me, but you take the piss out of me anyway. So, but if you look at him, there's an interesting thing with Epperton. So he finished a nose behind Song for Songwon in the international hurdle at Cheltenham, and came out 2 weeks later and won the Christmas hurdle. Well, that was his first win coming back from his last race of less than 61 days. So the fact that Evan Williams has made sure he's not running again, he's gone to the champion hurdle fresh, 80 days, he's going to be even better on the form book. And if he's even better than beating Epperton 6 lengths, he's going to hose up, isn't he? And it's going to be good to soft ground, so he hoses up, doesn't he?
I like it. I've never taken the mick out of Jonesy again, I tell you. Never again.
Liar.
You can put up Edwardstone if you want. No, I never will. I promise. Never. I like it. I like that angle. DC, we haven't had you, have we?
No. Jonesy, are you hungry or something? I know that you just got back from Wincant. You can go and get a sandwich there if you want for the next 2 minutes. Quality, right?
An old Snickers.
Yeah.
There's always a Jones rant. We know that. There's always a Steve Jones rant, and I enjoyed that one very much. Go on, Dees.
This isn't a race I have a massive opinion on yet. I can't get my head around it really. So I'm going to put on. I think Abacadabras. I think he's probably a bit overpriced, but forgotten about. And Song for Someone. I was looking at him there a while ago, and he's actually 130.0 on Matchbook there now, which I think is massively overpriced, but probably represents his chance in the race. But I think he has unbelievable form this year. He was absolutely kicked out the way by Goshen the last day, but that was on very heavy ground. He'd probably be a lot more straight for this at that kind of price. I might have a little bit, but I think out of them all, Abacadabras is the only one that interests me at the prices at the moment, but I wouldn't be very strong on the champion hurdle.
Fair enough. Let's kick on to the Mayor's Hurdle, the 4th grade one on the opening day. And Dees, you can take it away for us here. Do you don't have a very strong view on this? You want one at a slightly bigger price, do you?
Yeah, I'll touch on that down in a second. So if Concertista is 2.32, Roxanne is 5.2, Dan the Company is 7.8, Honeysuckle is 14.5, Verdana Blue is 17.5, Great White Shark is 27.0, and Minella Melody, my selection, is 34.0. Now, Concertista can go in and win this all she wants at that kind of price. I think she's probably a good enough thing, but Minella Melody was the favourite for the Mayor's Novice last year. She had some brilliant form going into it. Hasn't been great this year, but I think she's completely overpriced at 34.0 if Henry has a right. I don't think this is a very interesting race. I think there'll be a few of them pull out. So at 34.0, I'd be happy to have a very small win and a place bet on Minella Melody.
Minella Melody for you, and you're against the favourite essentially, as are you, Rixie, Concertista.
Yeah, nothing against her as a horse. She's improving all the time, to be fair to her. She's very likeable, does a lot right. She travels, she jumps, she's got a good ability to stay, she's got a good attitude, but I don't see it. I don't know why she should be so short. I think if Roxana runs here, I think anyone who's back to her anti-post will have a serious sweat on, because I'm convinced Roxana is probably a 2 or 3 pound better horse. But obviously the caveat with that is Roxana's got a lot of her best form is over 3 miles, and Concertista is, she's been look good over 2.5 this year. So the trip could be a little bit of an equaliser. I just don't think she's good, but she's not like, 5-4 good or whatever. The DC said they're 2.2 good. Obviously if Roxana doesn't run, she's probably going to go odds on, to be fair. But even at that, we'll see what turns up on the day. I think, what price is Eglantine du Soy there, DC?
She is 85s.
Yeah, and that's potentially maybe a price because she won't run, but she hasn't got the sexy graded form that the favourites got and Roxana's got, but she's been running very well in some mares only handicaps this year, off lumping around big weights, and the form has worked out really well. The White Mouse, all those kind of horses have been winning since. I don't know if the plan is to go here. But you know, if I knew she was going here, I'd be snapping up that price massively, and I'd be having a go at her in the place market as well. But I'm not sure if she's going to run. But look, I'm at the prices. I'm happy enough to take on Concertista at the moment.
Jack Toohill says Dolcita win and place for him, and Jonesy, you're nodding away to that. You agree?
Yeah, I do. I think she's I don't have a great view on the race, but Dolcita is the one, second to Concertista last year, although beaten a fair way. But she's moved from Willie Mullins to Fergal O'Brien, and I thought that was a fair run at Warwick, considering she'd been off a fair amount of time from her debut for Paul Nicholls, and then she's gone from Willie Mullins to Paul Nicholls to Fergal O'Brien, and I think that probably masks her ability a bit, the fact, and I think she'll be spot on. So I think she's got a good chance. Fergal lives about a mile that way, so I shout at him. But I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said that was the one horse he was really looking forward to running at Cheltenham.
I love the idea of you popping open the bedroom window first thing in the morning. How is she, Ferg?
Not first thing in the morning. He's gone before I get up.
Yeah, it's probably very true.
Got those empty bean tins there shouting across in a row. Ferg,
yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, exactly. He's got binoculars out like that, watching about the gallops.
You're going to need binoculars for that thing Rixie was on about. I can't believe Eglantine de Saul, Rixie. You must have a better memory than me, because she hasn't won for about 5 years, since she won at Cheltenham.
They don't need to win to make a profit off from Jonesy.
She absolutely hates the game.
Look, you just turn up on time for these gigs in future, and then we'll have a chat, all right?
Steve, I've got some food here. I can't really give it to you, but I know hangriness it gets to us all. We've mentioned Roxana. Go on, Adele, take it away on Roxana. You think she'll line up here?
I'm getting a bit worried each race where I'm going against Jonesy.
Be careful.
Do you know what I thought was really interesting is that Dan was interviewed and was asking which horse he was most looking forward to running. I thought he was going to say All Mankind, but he didn't. He said Roxana. So that made me kind of half worry a little bit. You know, does he not think All Mankind is going to win, or does he think Roxana's got the best chance? I know he said that he wasn't sure which race she was going to go towards yet, because it depends on the grounds. Obviously, if it softens up, she'll stay in the mare's hurdle. If it goes quicker, she might go in the stayers. But do you know what I like about her is just that she's so tough. You know, she's really holding her form well. And Concertista, I was just wondering, like, how does she even come up against the likes of something like Roxana, who, you know, is proving herself, you know, good enough against the boys. So that's purely on my reason for what Roxana. And I thought if she maybe drifts out slightly a little bit more in the betting, I'd keep an eye on her and play her at the place market.
Roxana, for you, win and place perhaps. Do you know, I just did a quick Twitter check just to see if there was anything on Roxana that I've missed, but the vibes seem to be that given the likely ground, she'll end up there. But if it does end up rattling in National Hunt Tab, she might go over a little bit further, but more likely to end up here. Matt, I know you're sitting this one out, so if everyone's happy, we'll kick on to Wednesday. Everybody happy? Love it. Good stuff. Right, let's move on to the Ballymore and give us some prices if you can, Dees, for the Ballymore.
Okay, so Goyard de Menil is 3.95. Bob Allinger is 4.4. Brave Man's Game is 5.0. Bear Gill 17.5. And then you have like Appreciated, probably won't run Annual Invictus 38.0. So we'll just stick with the top few there, I think.
And Dees, I know that you're sitting this one out. Matt, come in straight away if you can with your stat that you've got for this race and also your selection, because I know it ties in. So off you go.
Yeah, the Ballymore is one of those races that's really misunderstood by a lot of punters. They see it's a 2 mile 5 race and they think it's for stayers. And they start in the middle of the course. There's a big sweeping bend before you get out into the course proper. A hurdle comes up pretty quickly. So they tend to go steadily and it turns into a test of speed at the trip. So it suits horses with a turn of foot. And that's illustrated by the Grade 1 hurdle winning form from the Ballymore. Since 97, Grade 1 hurdle winners over 2 miles are 8 from 16. You'd have made an 86% profit backing them blind. Grade 1 hurdle winners at around 2.5 miles are 2 from 19. You'd have made a 73% loss backing them blind. And the 3 that dominate the market are all Grade 1 hurdle winners at 2.5 or further. Bob Ollinger at Naas, Brave Man's Game in the Challow, and Gaillard de Menil in the newish 2 3/4 mile race at the Dublin Racing Festival. They all look cracking prospects, but history suggests they could be vulnerable to a speedy type in the Ballymore. The one who looks to have the most pace and the most likely winner is probably Bob Ollinger. But I'll be looking for a speed horse to take them on. There are a couple. Sadly, I don't think Ballyadam is going to run. I think he'd be absolutely ideally suited by this. His suspect jumping, I think, will get caught out in a Supreme. But he'd have time to get organised at his obstacles here and could use his turn of foot. I think Gordon was pretty set on the Supreme, and Henry's got Bob Ollinger for this, so looking increasingly unlikely. The one I've got my eye on is Kescon Risk, who is 55.0 on the machine. He showed a good turn of foot off a crawl on his hurdles debut. He was in that race we've discussed, the future champions at Christmas, when Joseph Hawkes weren't running very well. He was 12.5 lengths third there. He was ahead of Ballyadam. He was ahead of the Devil's Coachman. And he was taken out of the Dublin Racing Festival equivalent for the ground being too soft, as Rixie said earlier. So if we get this traditional good to soft ground, I think that is suited perfectly. He's only had a couple of runs over hurdles. And given the tempo of the Ballymore, it's much more about raw talent than being battle-hardened, as the Supreme is. We had a couple of winners this century, Galileo and 5-3 win off just 1 run, 3 more off 2. So I don't think inexperience would be an issue. I think he's got a good turn of foot. He's one to listen to the vibes about. Joseph said the other day that they haven't decided between the Supreme and the Ballymore. As soon as there's any sort of indication they're going down the Ballymore route, I'll be getting stuck into him. And at a price like 55.0, you could have a go now.
And of course, Rixie, says if he lines up in the Supreme, he likes him for that, and you like him for this. Point being, you both think he's a nice horse. Can I just So Tom Williams has said memories of Forheen winning this, and your stat pointed out that it tends to be more of a speed race. Now, Forheen had won over further before coming into this, but of course he ended up winning a champion hurdle as well. But just for everyone watching, Matt, it's not just about the pure stats saying horses can or can't, but it leads into horses that are over or under bet. And I suppose this highlights it well, that it goes against the stats here if you've won over a little bit further, because those horses tend to be over bet, and that's highlighted them being the top 3 in the betting. Is that fair? Is that sort of the angle you're coming at it? It's all a value angle, if you like.
Yeah, that's spot on. And because people think it's a test of stamina, they don't look at the Grade 1 2-mile hurdle winning form or just the generally good form over 2 miles. That gets under bet. That tends to be where the value is.
How does that make you sort of feel Brave Man's Game wise, Rixie? I'm
a huge fan of this horse. It's taken me a little while to kind of cop onto him, but obviously with this I've been going over all the videos and doing all the form properly, and every time I've watched his races he's just impressed me more. I think he should be favoured, to be honest. I really do. I think his form is marginally better than the Irish horses, but I suppose the Willie Mullins factor and the Irish factor of the recent domination of Cheltenham festivals has probably played into the prices, which is fair enough. Willie Mullins is an absolute phenom. Paul Nicholls, he obviously hasn't hit the heights of recent seasons of your big bucks and all that. But I just love this Brave Man's Game. I think he's got a lot of ability. I think he's been getting better and better with every run. And what really kind of stuck out for me is when the last time when he won at Newbury, when he beat Stargate, when Harry gave him a crack of the whip, he took off and his head is down. I don't think you want to take this lad on too early because he's got an attitude to die for. And the kind of, look, I'm a big fan of Gallard de Menil and of Bob Ollinger. Just the other thing is they have been winning on proper Irish kind of soft ground on their last couple of starts. Bob Ollinger won on heavy the last day. Gallard de Menil won on soft. Braveman's game has been winning and running very well on kind of soft, good to soft. And even I think the day he won at Newbury, his novice hurdle, I think was at the Ladbrokes meeting. You know, that ground there was proper good ground, and he floated along it. He's getting better with each run. And to be honest, I'd love to see Paul Nicholls back in and have another proper Grade 1 winner at the festival. I know he's had dodging bullets and that again, but I do think the game is better when Paul Nicholls is winning festival Grade 1 races. So, yeah, look, I just think that the relative test of speed compared to what the Irish horse have been doing is potentially going to play against them, and it's going to suit Brave Man's game more. So I'm going to plump for him in the Ballymore.
And we mentioned Bob Ollinger as well. Jonesy, you're a Bob Ollinger fan? You're ever so slightly muted, Jonesy. Only slightly.
It was always going to happen, wasn't it? I don't think anyone wants to hear what I got to say. Rix, I'm going to fall out with Rix at some point because I can't have Brave Man's game at all. I think he's a great prospect, but I just don't think he's the right type for this race. And these Challow winners, they never win at Cheltenham, do they? I can't remember any.
Matt, why do Challow winners never win here?
It's generally much more of a test of stamina, and they've actually won a couple of Albert Bartletts, Wichita Lineman and Kilbrick and Storm, who's beaten in the Challow, but they've all been beaten in this. It's the same point about being at a real test of speed.
Yeah, so Bob Ollinger is a sort of, I wouldn't be strong on him. I think it's a tricky race, but he's my selection. I've been impressed with him. I think the way he goes through the race is nice, and he clearly stays, but he's clearly got a lot of class as well, and I think that's going to take him through. So small bet on Bob Ollinger. I don't think he's great value, but he's my selection.
Small for you, Bob Ollinger in the Ballymore. And Adele, I had a very long drive to Exeter one Sunday morning/afternoon. It was a race meeting which I was convinced was going to be off. I got a speeding ticket on the way down there. But it was all worth it to see Bear Gills. And I know he's a lovely horse. Go on.
Well, I was just listening to everyone and Matt's stats as well, and I was thinking, oh no, because he's not got any graded form coming into the race. He won a Class 3 handicap at but what I like about him is things don't always seem to go his way. His jumping kind of leaves a little bit to be desired, but do you know what he does do? He gets the job done. Like, he's got such a willing attitude, and you know, his form from his bumper, his form from his previous hurdle wins. Like, there's loads of winners come out of them, so he clearly does have talent. So I'm hoping. Look, I'm by no means am I backing him for a win bet. He's purely is a place bet, and it purely goes on. You know, he gets the job done. He's got such a great attitude. You know, and he's been finding it easy at that level. So, you know, you might as well step up. And I know it's into a higher grade, but again, it's the place market. And I just think, you know, at his price, a little bit of a place bet on him, given his winning attitude.
Can you confirm the price? Deasy, I don't know if you went through it. I'm a huge fan of this horse. Probably because I was there and it's a small trainer and I'm buying into that. But I really liked what he did last time. What price are we looking at?
Bear Gills is 17.5.
Okay.
Good price. So he's done loads of schooling as well at home. So hopefully he might see a little bit, you know, hopefully it might be a little bit slicker as well.
Yeah, Jack has just made that point about his jumping. Yes, it was a bit patchy, but we'll see how he goes at a fair price. Let's kick on to the the Brown Advisory, everybody. The Brown Advisory, no longer the RSA. Brown Advisory. Prices for us, Deasy, if you can.
1 second down.
Having just asked you to scroll right down the bottom of the Ballymore betting, now click onto the Brown Advisory.
More than 18,000 tabs open here at the moment to slowing things down. So Monkfish is 1.84. Then you have Eclat de Rire is 13.0. The Big Breakaway is 13.0. Then you have Next Destination is 18.5. Sporting John is 19.5. Roy Pagay is 27.0. Pencil Full of Lead 27.0. Big prices then for the rest of them.
Right, Team Monkfish. Take it away, Steve Jones, first of all.
I'm not going to back him. I don't think there's anything worth backing at odds on in the Cheltenham Festival, to be honest. There's been way too many certainties beaten for me, but he just does everything so easily, this horse, and he obviously has got the form from last year's festival that he won the Albert Bartlett, and he just looks bomb-proof, and I think if you had to have one horse to run for your life, it would be him, but I can't bet it odds on.
Okay.
Rix is going to agree with me. We're going to agree, aren't we, mate? We're going to agree.
No, he's a bet, mate. Yeah, should be shorter in the betting.
Agree and not agree. But you're with him, Declan?
Yeah, look, you have to be. He's a very, very exciting horse. You know, he won the Albert Bartlett last year on pure kind of talent. He looks so raw. He's becoming a man now with each start. You know, he jumps, he travels, he does everything right. And in terms of ratings, I think he's clear, to be honest. If you want to be picky, if the ground was, quickening up, I don't think he's got any form on that kind of proper spring ground. That could potentially be just to maybe turn it into more of a speed test. But no, you're kind of, look, I suppose you're trying, when horses are these prices, you're trying to look at anything that you think could get them beat. And that's the only, I think he'd probably enjoy the new course better than the old course because he's a nice big kind of type of chaser. So, but no, you're kind of, you're scratching around here and you're getting very little, but yeah, I'd be surprised if anything can happen in horse racing, but I actually think he should probably be a little bit shorter in the betting, to be honest, because it looks like a race that might cut up a little bit.
Odds on shots can be value, and this race often does cut up. Matt, I was sort of looking forward to you talking about this race. I still am, but only because I thought you might be taking on Monkfish, because I know that there's a stat which sort of goes against him, but equally that everyone has their limits. So go on.
And this is a race that I think is a perfect example of how to use stats. And the stat is that this century, 31 horses, unbeaten over fences, have lined up, including 10 clear favourites, and only 2 of the 31 have won. You'd have made an 84% loss backing unbeaten horses in this. You think of some of them, more of that 6-4, Grand Cru 6-5, Time for Rupert 7-4, Punch Stands 2-1, Vic 11-8. They all arrived looking like bankers. And the only 2 winners were the Great Denman and Don Poli, who won a week renewal. So itching to take him on. You look at the Albert Bartlett last year, they went pretty steadily. There was 107% finishing speed. He was less impressive over 3 miles at Christmas than when beating Latest Exhibition over an extended 2.5 in the flow gas. There might be other reasons for that, but the Brown is so often won by a tough, battle-hardened performer with lots of chasing experience and an unsexy profile. But you look at this field and you can't find one. Eclat de Rire and Sporting John both look lovely prospects for next year, but they're pretty inexperienced. Big Breakaway still looks a bit of a baby to me. The Tizard Revival hasn't really got going. He's probably another for next season. Next Destination's 9. The last 9-year-old to win a Grade 1 novice chase at the festival was Minnie Homer in 1992. I can't see him being good enough. And the golden rule when using stats or any other analytical tool like sectional timings is good servant, poor master. The stats tell you to take Monkfish on, but the stats should do no more than help frame your analysis. They mustn't dictate it. It's cutting up badly, particularly if Paul Nolan doesn't want to take him on again with Latest Exhibition. And so I've reluctantly come to the conclusion that he is a banker. Sorry, Tom.
No, not at all. It is. When you sent that over to me, I thought, hello, honestly, it sent shivers down my spine, you running through the graveyard of those short favourites, the Punchestowns. Whoa, Time for Rupert. But yeah, I mean, this is the shortest of the lot. You mentioned a horse there that I think Deasy's going to have a go at, but in the without Monkfish market, Next Destination, Deasy.
Yeah, I thought Next Test. I don't know. He is 9, but I don't mind him being at all. He was off for nearly 3 years. I think he's looked quite good this year when he came back, especially at Newbury when he beat one for the team. I thought that he improved with every jump that he took of a fence that day, and as well as that, he took lengths out of them. He absolutely destroyed him with his jumping. Now the fact he's a bit older, as well as that, he's going to be a bit more battle hardened and a bit stronger. So I always thought this race was very tough on young horses. There was a lot of them that kind of ran in it, and then they never really kicked on. Now I think Monkfish is absolutely unbelievable. I think he'll win, but I'd be happy enough to have a play on Next Destination to finish second to him anyway in the without market, and maybe definitely in the place market as well of the other, because I can definitely see him hitting the frame.
Okay, Next Destination for you, but nobody is opposing Monkfish. Let's kick on to the Champion Chase. And if Monkfish is plenty of people's banker, then Chacun Pour Soi is probably going to be the other half of that on the Wednesday anyway. He is 2.2, Deasy. What else we got? Yeah.
Chacun Pour Soi is 2.2. Altior is 9.0. Nuba Negra is 10.5. Political Log is 14.0. Horse Flow is 15.0. Put the Kettle On is 13.5. Then you have Rix's favourite horse Sorial at 26.0. Celeste Emery is 42.0. Notebook is 50.0. And Rouge Riff, sorry, he's in there. He's 32.0. I know someone has put him up, so we'll call out his price.
Go on and pick up off that, DC. Who do you like and why?
Yeah, Rouge Riff would be very interesting if the ground was good, because he was so good. I think it was in the October meeting. I think he beat handicappers, but he was very good. The other one I was having a look at was I think Put the Kettle On has great chance if she runs in this. I think that this would have been no, it's not guaranteed she'll go on this. She could go on the Marsh Chase, but she surprised a lot of people last year on the Arkle. She's going to be in the same term, so she's going to be getting the mayor's allowance. I think that this would have been the plan all season, though she hasn't run great a few times, but at the price she is, she could definitely spring a surprise. And I don't think Chacun Pour Soi is banker material at all. So I'm happy enough to take Mama something in a bigger price and Put the Kettle On. Henry was going to have her absolutely spot on for the day, and I think she'll run a big race.
Adam Tinsley agrees. Apart from Altior, who is better Cheltenham form in this, and Matt, we all know that if you back the previous year's Cheltenham winners, you make a profit. Is that still the case?
Yeah, no, Arkle winners have got a fantastic record in this. So she's a big price. Henry seems determined to run her. I wouldn't fancy her myself. I don't think it was a good Arkle last year, but certainly on the stats you could back her.
Who do you like and why?
My play in this is a back to lay on Nubi Negra. Dan Skelton in his war of words have been saying he's the quickest horse in this race, which is a bit of a bold statement with Chacun Pour Soi in opposition. But you can see him travelling and jumping with the favourite. The question really is whether he's going to get the trip. Clearly, a sound surface would help. Punters often assume all jumps horses are going to get at least 2 miles. It's a question of how much further they're going to get. But non-stayers have been quite a factor in the Champion Chase in recent years. Special Tiara won as a 10-year-old on his 4th go in the race, having not looked like he stayed the trip previously. Arguably, Dodging Bullets and Cider Grugy were also horses that didn't get the trip properly the season before they won. And a lot of people are looking at his form at Kempton in the Desert Orchid and saying that that's not a good pointer to the Champion Chase. It's a much sharper track, much more of a test of speed. But a cruising speed's vital. And in its short history of the Desert Orchid, 6 of the 13 winners have followed up in the Champion Chase. So Nubi Negra might be next season's horse when he stays it better, but at the very least he's likely to be a back to lay play now, given how well he travels. And the more the ground dries out as the festival approaches, the bigger I'll be playing him.
So you're going to back him no matter what, with a view to getting out during the race, or is that almost guaranteed?
Yeah.
I know. Well, Rixie, you've put Nuba Negra in as we ask who you fancy. Would you approach it from a similar angle, or do you think he'll be fine round Cheltenham? Do you think he could stay in front?
Yeah, he has. I think, wasn't he third in the Fred Winter a couple of seasons ago as a much younger horse? So you'd hope he's strengthened up in that. In the meantime, the Skeleton team remain in good form. what he did to Altior. I know he was getting £6 in the Desert Orchid, but Jesus Christ, lads, he travelled all over everything. Like he basically beat Altior on the bridle on ground that was probably soft enough for him as well. I totally agree with what's been said about him. He looks tailor made for this test to me. He just jumps and he travels for fun, and it won't be hilarious for Team Mullins, but Team Mullins are still having... Willie Mullins has yet to win the champion chase. And can you imagine if he nutted him with New Bernegra beating Chacun Poursois? That would be a little... that'd soften everyone's cough in terms of the freebie banter that we've been seeing. So, look, I think it's a very interesting race. Look, Chacun Poursois is obviously the most likely winner. But, at the same time, I do think this is probably quite a little bit significantly the best race he's ever going to have run in. So, he's been beating a lot of inferior horses in Ireland. He's got people who are going to probably use the no Cheltenham form, no course form against him. I don't see that as a problem. He's won at Punchestown, which is probably more undulating than Cheltenham, to be honest. He jumps and he travels as well. The only thing I'd be a little bit scared of is because he's got a lot of mid-race pace, this horse. But instead of going through the race like a mad fucker like Un Dessau, he's more Bentley type, and it doesn't look like he's doing what. But he puts serious pressure under horses under pressure in the middle of the race, and I'd just be a little bit afraid that Paul Townend would maybe want to show him off, and he'd set the race up for something else. So, look, I like New Bernegra, and I've got to give a mention here to First Flow. Look, what he did the last day in the Clarence House was incredible in terms of on the clock, and the form probably looks solid as well. He beat Politolog, I think, by 6 lengths, but he galloped him and the rest of that field into the ground. In terms of what he did on the clock that day, it was outrageous, to be honest. And think in terms of ability, I don't think he's got that much to find with Chacun Poursois, but, and it's a big but, can he do it at Cheltenham, going the different way around on much quicker ground, having probably ran the race of his life? That race could have potentially left a mark. But I just wanted to say that if he puts it all together, he's real fly in the ointment material, I think, First Flow. So I just wanted to give him a mention, because I know you're a bit of a fanboy of the Kim Bailey stable.
Always between him and Ollie Murphy. What race did he win last time, First Flow?
The Matchbook Clarence House.
There he goes. There he goes.
Sonny's better. You better add a winner onto that now.
There's another 0 on the end of Rixie's paycheck. Oh, he got there in the end. Good stuff. You mentioned New Bernegra. Harry Skelton is going to ride that horse, which means Adele's not going to be on last year's winner, Politolog, but you're not deserting last year's winner?
I'm not, no. This will be his 6th festival, I think, is it? One thing you get for him is a run for your money, and given that you can play him at the place market as well, surely you've got to have him on side. I fully respect Chacun Poursois. I also fully respect First Flow. I know he's probably beaten fair and square, but Politolog kind of comes alive in the springtime. I think it was maybe a little bit too slow for him with the ground at Ascot. The chances of First Flow putting up a performance like that again at Cheltenham, honest, like the way he attacked them fences. I mean, everyone kind of stood up and took note. But I love Politolog. I know there's so many people that are like, oh, is he really that top level? But he is, and he goes a gallop. You get a run for your money. I'm going to play him at the place market.
Can you imagine if Nichols wins this with Politolog? Imagine it. He'd be so revved, wouldn't he? He will be so revved.
Shins, Nicky and Altior, absolute scenes.
He will, yeah. Oh, his comments after the Tingle Creek were great. That's what we love about it. Jonesy, how could I forget?
I want to ask Dees if I can get a price on whether Rixie's been in a Bentley ever or not, because it'd be a maximum lay to me, maximum lay. But the Champion Chase, New Bernegra, I get that. Well, you go back to New Bernegra last season, and Rouge Vif thrashed this horse at Warwick in the Kingmaker. And I know that the tables were turned over Christmas, but Harry Whittington, no winners in December, no winners in January, and he's just banged in 4 in February. So the horses clearly weren't right all winter, coming right back now. And if even if it's good to soft, I think Rouge Vip is a really good horse and a good price and a little win and a nice place bet. I don't. Chac and Poursoir doesn't do it for me. I think he's been beating up the same horses. I may be wrong. He has looked brilliant, but he's a 9-year-old who's hardly run much for Willie Mullins. I think 7 starts, and I'd want to take him on. And Rouge Vip is big enough price for me.
Champion Chase done. We are pretty much halfway through. Actually, not quite done. Deasy.
Just and the price there on Rixie and the Bentley. I'm sure you told a story before, Rixie, about wandering around outside Ballydoyle and Micheál Tabor picked you up or something and brought you up there in a Bentley.
No, that was the time I tried to rob a Bentley and I couldn't. Micheál Tabor came around the
corner. Marsh. Let's move on to the Marsh. I
kind of feel bad we haven't had a quick chat about Altior there, given how good he has been for the game. Well, it's probably because he never runs, but I don't know.
Yeah. Go on, Rixie.
Well, look, I think he should run in the Ryanair this year. You know, I know people will think that's mad, but this is one horse that I think I would have loved to have seen on the new course, because he's been murdering horses on the old course, and I don't think it's really suited him because he's so leggy and he takes a while to get into top stride. But when he does, he's an absolute monster. And, you know, the straight on the new course is so much longer. I just think not seeing Altior on the new course in his pomp is, so, you know, I think we would have seen one of the most special performances we've seen from a thoroughbred up there with your Vatours in a Ryanair and whatnot. But, look, he's been a great horse. I think he's been on the downgrade for quite a while. There was chat about him potentially scoping poorly after the Desert Orchid. I don't know what Nicky's kind of said about that since. And, you know, I do fancy New Bernegra. But New Bernegra is going to be £6 worth off with him. So I just think this, you know, it's potentially his last festival. I did want to give him a positive mention because he has been so good for the game. But I just can't see it, unfortunately. Now, you know, he's 11 now, so, you know, he's getting on.
And he's too old, isn't he, Matt? Although, actually, this is the championship race where you can win it if you're 10 or older. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We've had a couple of 10-year-olds at Specialty R winning, and Moscow Flyer did win as an 11-year-old. So this is one of the 4 where veterans have won this century.
Jack says Rixie loves the new course. I love that. Rixie loves that new course, does Rixie? I love it.
I do love the new course.
He loves the new course, does Rixie?
That old course is absolute filth. You see all these horses swinging off the bend, especially on the chase track, unbalanced. Horses' arses kicking out the side all over the shop. Then you've got a faller at the second last. Get rid of it. Everything on the new track, please. Thank you.
Right, let's move on to the Marsh. And prices, please, Mr. Deasy.
Yeah. Envoy Allen sits atop of this at 1.96. Then you have Shamblu is 9.6. Chantry House is at 13.5. You have an Orgamine in there at 8.4 as well. Fusel Raffles is 18.0. Chatham Street Lad is 21.0. Hitman is 26.0, and his big prices and the rest.
Matt, can you kick us off with the stat, please, for this contest, which relates to the horse at the top of the betting? He's got the perfect profile, no?
Yeah, he does. It's a relatively new race. There's only been 10 renewals. But in the context of the Arkle, we talked about in 2-mile chases that raw speed's crucial. 3-mile chases, it's more emphasis on being able to get into a rhythm, conserve energy, and in novice races being battle hardened over fences. The Marsh is an intermediate distance. It's 2-3, 168 yards, bit of doling out. It's just under 2.5 miles in practice. And if the ground's decent, I think it's very much a test of speed. I think it's more akin to the 2-mile chases where raw ability is so important. And one indication, as we discussed earlier, of raw ability is Grade 1 hurdles form. Grade 1 winning hurdlers are 6 from 18 in the Marsh, 144% profit back blind so far. Envoy Allen fits the profile perfectly.
And, do you know, I half suggest he's a he's a decent enough price. Look, of course, that may have just been a slight easing of the price with the news that he has moved yards, and some people may not think that that's ideal. Matt, your selection for the race, while we've got you there.
Well, I think you're right, Tom, that he's quite a decent price. I can see him shortening up. There's a lot of debate about moving yards. MVLM is one of those I'd be least worried about. He's so relaxed and professional. He had loose horses all around him last time in the Kalini, and he didn't bat an eyelid. The one thing I would be slightly concerned is before he made his chasing debut, he did have a wind up, and he hasn't come off the bridle over fences yet. If there's anything in this good enough to get him off the bridle, whether his wind will catch him out, we don't know. So I wouldn't put anyone off who likes a short price smashing him. If you want a wild one at a big price, Blackbow is 50.0. He won a 2x1 beginners at Navan that Willie often uses for his star novices. Album Photo, Min, Duvan, Ventura all won that race. He did go off the first string in the betting in the Grade 1 Christmas ahead of Franco de Port. Fell there, got a confidence booster next time. He was right next to Franco de Port, behind Energumene in the Irish Arkle. And that might be the strongest novice chase form so far. He was too keen again there. And so it seems a bit odd that Willie wants to step him up in trip here. And if they try and hold him up again, I wouldn't fancy him. But if they decide to go back to the tactics at Navan in the beginner's chase where he settled the best he settled all season, go from the front, go with Chambler maybe, then I can see him settling a lot better. He actually shapes like a horse that if he did settle, he'd improve for a step up in trip. So he's about 50.0. He'd be one to have a few coins on. And if you are going to do that, then a related contingency double with Energumene in the Arkle looks an obvious play too.
Could double him up with Energumene, as you say, in the Arkle. Adele, I know that you are a fan. Well, obviously, everyone's a fan of Envoy Allen, but at that sort of price, you still think there's possibly some value there?
There is. I think he's very much a worthy favourite. And Matt's already touched, though. That is the only worry with him is that he obviously underwent a wind operation and wore the tongue tie on his first start chasing. And if it's going to be tested anywhere, it's going to be tested at Cheltenham. So that was why I would have something to play at the place market as well, just in case. With Envoy, I would still have him as a win bet. But then I was thinking of Hitman, who was second to All Mankind in a Grade 1. Obviously, he fell in the Scilly Isle, so we don't know if he might have won it. I don't know, but he was still going quite well anyway. He kind of jumped a little bit steep and paid the price for that. He was travelling really well, so I can only think that he will have been bang there at the finish line. So he might have had Grade 1, first form coming into that. Not sure, but he's a big price, so why not have a little bit of a place bet on him? And just in case you are a little bit worried about Envoy Allen and his potential breathing.
Yeah, Envoy Allen for most likely winner and Hitman in the place market. Way to line up in this contest. Jonesy, anything to add to Envoy Allen?
No, not really. It's another race for me where the favourite's too short and I can't find anything to take him on with because he has been so good. But I think if you're with a horse like this, you want everything spot on. And the fact he switched yards, it just doesn't do it for me. So I'm quite happy to watch him. I think he's a fine horse. I think he'll probably win, but not for me betting wise.
Matt sent over lots of well put stats, but I think the best line has gone to Deasy, who just wrote Envoy Allen will piss up. Thanks, Deasy. Thanks for that. That was really well succinctly put.
Well, those were production notes, Tom. They're not for sharing.
No, they're here.
I think he will. I think he will piss up, but this is the first week I think out of the last 7 or 8 that I haven't put any money on him just because of what John said there, because of all the confusion. I still don't think 2 weeks out all the work was going to be done. He'll just be getting them over and all safe and sound. And I think he'll win, and I hope he'll win. And the other one, Adele touched on it. I think Hitman. Paul Nicholls smells blood. He was going to keep this horse for entry, but he said yesterday that he might run him. I think he's a cracking horse. He was entered at the weekend in the race that Tamarack the Matt had won, and he would have been a sharp price favourite, and that would have absolutely bolted up. Again, he's another horse that's a very good jumper. improved at every jump this year. I think strong traveller. He's 26.0 now. I mean, it's not guaranteed he'll run. If he runs in the day, he's going to be a lot shorter. And I think I could definitely see him giving Envoyal a race and definitely hitting the frame. And the other one was Fusel Raffles, who did a lot of running at the start of the year on good ground. I think he ran 4 times in the space of 2 months at the start of the season before the ground went very, very heavy. Again, he's decent Cheltenham form, decent course form. He's a big price. He's another one that I could probably have a play on in the without market and just to hit the frame as well.
I love this. So the reason I do is because it's the perfect link over to Rixie, because Fusel Raffles and Chantry House have taken each other on before. What was going on with that betting at Cheltenham a couple of starts ago? Because it was won by Fusel Raffles and Chantry House took an absolute walk, and Fusel Raffles went on and won it. What do you? James Dick says Henderson's 2 without, both good calls from Chantry House and Fusel Raffles. So go on, Rixie. Why Chantry House?
Look, I just like him. He obviously ran in a strong Supreme last year when I think the ground was too soft for him, and the trip was probably well, there was a couple of things. I think the ground was too soft. One, the trip was probably on the sharp side, and I just think going into the Supreme, he was still an incredibly raw horse. I think he's taken well to fences this season. Obviously, he had that mishap at Cheltenham behind Fusel Raffles when he drifted in the betting in what was a bit of a freak race on the day, but supposedly he had an operation soon after that race because he had a problem with a kissing spine. So I think you can probably scratch that race from his record now, especially since we've seen him since at Wetherby and he looked good. I thought his jumping improved again. I thought he looked nice and bright. He was slicker again on ground that I don't think would be to his liking. I think just the way he moves, he's a little bit leggy. I think he's going to be a horse that is going to be much better on proper spring ground. So, and he's got gears, this horse. He is a good horse. Now, I think some of the closing sectionals he put up that day at Ascot when he won, I know Pictorney fell 3 out. He's got pace, this horse. He's just a good horse. Whether he's Envoy Allen good now, that's another thing. But look, there isn't a person in this game who doesn't like Envoy Allen. He's unbeaten since, he does everything so easily. But does anyone here at this seat in the panel think he's beaten a Grade 1 horse this season? Has he beaten one? Has he even come close to beating a Grade 1 horse? I think, a lot of people are going to say Cocoa Beach, Frank the Form, winning the Thyestes. He did, it's obviously not a negative, but when he took on Envoy Allen, it was over 2.5 miles on soft ground off a steady gallop. At Gorham Park, he went up and tripped first time blinkers on heavy ground. I'm not sure that's a massive boost to the form. Home by the Lee obviously won during the week, but the race that he won, the race fell in his lap because he was held up in a race that they went so quick in that the field came back to him. Look, but there's a massive caveat to all that. He's very much in the mould of big bucks. As Gordon Elliott says, if you put him up against a 100 rated horse, he'll beat him a length. If you put him up against a 150 rated horse, he'll beat him a length. So I just don't know. I think we haven't seen him beat a good horse this year, and he's going to be beating much better. He's going to be taking on much better horses at Cheltenham. So I don't know. I don't see it in his form to warrant backing him at that price. Am I going to be surprised he goes and wins? No, obviously not, because he's a horse who keeps a lot for himself, and the better the opposition, the better he'll be. But look, I'm happy to take him on. I'll take him on winning place with Chantry House at the prices, and on the day I'll be backing Chantry House without Envoy Allen as well. So that's how I'm going to play the race.
Steve?
I was, if I unmuted, yeah, I have this time. I was just going to say that the reason he hasn't beaten Grade 1 horses is because he's the only one in the race. He can't beat himself, can he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a fair point as well. He's a whole lot of horses in Ireland have dodged him this year. It looked like Asterian Phalange was going to be a good horse to take him on, giving him away, but he's starting to make Undeso look like a calm, docile horse now. Is Asterian Phalange, but I know there's a lot of Envoy Allen fanboys out there, and they'll hate me saying all this stuff, but you study form objectively, and I just don't see it in his form. Steve makes a very good point that no one's been willing to take him on. So look, we'll see. I just personally can't back him at that kind of price, but for all the Gordon Elliott team, we all know what's going on at the moment. It would be nice, I think, in some ways, to maybe see him win. For all, it's going to be very tough for Henry de Bromhead's name to be on the race card, because a lot of the girls and the lads who ride him and muck him out and all that stuff, they've done a lot of the hard work with him. So it's going to be a strange bit of a festival if he wins, but I think it would be nice if he did win for them, because look, Henry de Bromhead's not going to come out and go, gets in, absolutely love it. Yeah, we've done all the hard graft, so we'll see what happens.
And you want the unbeaten star to go and win, don't you, really? You always want one horse like that. So there you go. Let's move on to the Ryanair. And, this is the very much the Willie Mullins show at the moment as far as the market goes, Dees.
Yeah, he's a good grip on this now. So Allaho is 6.4, Min is 8.0, Imperial Aura 7.4, Mellon is 8.8, Fakir Doudari is 11.0, Stan Calvados 10.0, Mr. Fisher is 10.0. Real Steel at 21.0, and that's also a show I'm at the moment, so we'll have to stick with them.
You got to name check him. This interests me because we're going to come to Matt with a stat towards the top of the betting, and yet nobody's looking right towards the one at the very top of the betting. Steve, first of all, take it away. This is one of your best bets, isn't it?
Yeah, the best bet. Now, the best trials for Cheltenham are always run 12 months previously at the Cheltenham, because Cheltenham form stands up time again. Mellon, second to Sam Crow by beating about the width of a fag paper, and probably should have won. That was in the Marsh Novice Chase. Go back 12 months previous to that, second in the Champion Hurdle, second in the Champion Hurdle the previous year to that, beat Bouvardere, and it's in second in the Supreme. I know it's a lot of seconds, but it's top quality form, and I don't think he's best over 3 miles, which he's run over the past twice, and he's run all right. Ken Boy got the run of the race out in front in the last time in the Irish Gold Cup, so don't worry about that. He ran very well behind Aplutard at Leopardstown over Christmas, and he's just got this is his kind of race where they go fast, 2.5 miles at Cheltenham. Jobs are good. And
he's shortened up a bit in the last couple of days. He's a little bit shorter than I remember as well, is Mellon. Helen said Allaho's a bad fav, isn't he? Well, Matt, you can pick up on that if you can. Because is there such thing as a bad fav in this race?
Well, the history wouldn't say so, but that's the favourite on the day. There are two stats to combine here, the predictableness and tactics. It's been a very predictable race. 10 of the 13 winners as a grade 1 came from the front 2 in the SP market. Even at those short prices, you made a 56% profit backing them blind. So if you're betting anti-post, you want a horse that's going to shorten into the front of the market. It's not been a race to find a 33-1 shot that's going to go off 14s. And the tactics, 8 of the 13 grade 1 winners have either made all or most of the running. 3 have made all. These intermediate trip chases on the new course, being ridden prominently, is such an advantage. So history suggests you're looking for a front runner that's going to go off at or close to the front of the market. I'm completely with Steve on this. I think Mellon is one of the bets of the week here. He ran a blinder in the Savills, given a poor ride, too much light backwards and forwards, and he didn't settle over 3 miles. Then they tried exaggerated waiting tactics he didn't like. And as Steve said, he's miles better at Cheltenham than he is at Leopardstown. You know this trip suits. He can use his jumping, forcing tactics. Cheap piece is probably back on. The one horse with the pace to potentially take him on up front, Min, obviously had jumping problems last time, so they might be a bit more conservative with him there. He was very unlucky last year in the Marsh. He was ahead a yard before the line, a yard after the line. He was just done on the nod. And because he's got a poor win record, a lot of punters want to knock him. But he's cracking place value, but unlike a lot of people, I think he's good win value as well. He's if he's about 8.8, he's one of the best bets of the week.
Couple of shouts for Mellon there, who was beaten by Sam Crow last time. And Dees, you like Sam Crow, which brave shout. Brave.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to get the piss taken out of me about this, but I backed Sam Crow at the start of the year at 13.0 for this. He's 25.0 now, which kind of tells you how his year has gone. But Sam Crow has won at the Cheltenham Festival twice. It's a middle distance trip. I don't think that he likes running around in the muck for 3 miles in the winter. None of us do. And a bit of sun in his back now. I think he's vastly overpriced in this now. I mean, 25.0, a small win and a place. But I think Cheltenham light Sam Crow up. He was brilliant last year. I mean, Mellon is 8.0. Sam Crow beat him last year over a very similar trip, getting 25.0 on that. I'd be having that all day.
And Adele, you like another last year festival winner, Imperial Aura?
Yeah, at least he's got the course and distance form as well. Look, I really like this horse. He was so progressive, and then he was so beautifully produced by Kim and David, and I was absolutely gutted to see him unseat at Kempton in the Silviana Conti. I think he'll prefer Cheltenham. I think he's much better jumping like on the forward foot when they go a little bit quicker paced. So I think it'll suit him, perfectly. He likes to race up there with the pace as well, so he's got that kind of stat there as well, and he's big enough price to play at the place market.
And Kim Bailey, again, spoke to him a couple of weeks ago interviewing about this horse, and he was so keen to say he didn't fall last time, and that was so key because it's not dented his confidence at all. He's not worried about that at all. It was just one of those things. He
got his. I think David said he lost his attention or something. Something caught his eye or something. So hopefully, fingers crossed. It hasn't scarred him. And like I said, I think Cheltenham, the pace will suit him much better there.
And he is currently just second in the betting for that Ryanair Imperial Aura. Declan?
Look, this is a mad race. I think there's probably, you wouldn't be surprised if six or seven of the fields won it, to be honest. I've been a fan of Mr. Fisher, should I say, for the last while, but he's actually shortened in the betting quite a considerable bit. I thought he wasn't too long ago, last week even, he was 16-1. So what price is he there, did you say, DC?
Just have to come off to the page. 2 seconds there now. He is.
Sorry,
10,
but look,
10,
I think it looks like he's been shortening for the last couple of weeks.
10.0.
Yeah, so he's probably getting to more of a fair price now. I don't know. I really like this horse. I just think he does a lot right, and we know he's better on good ground, but for so much of his career, he hasn't actually got a chance to run on good ground. I can't get out of my head when was it the Lightning he won at Doncaster when he quickened past Al Dancer on proper good ground like a flat horse. He showed serious gears that day. He's got good course form, and I would just say, Jonesy said there about the previous years. Was it the Marsh, being a decent race? I would just stress last year when he ran in that race, he took on horses on proper soft ground who were much older than him and probably, physically in a much better state than them. Faugheen was he 11 at that time? Mellon was 8. I think Sam Crow was 8 as well. He was only a 6-year-old, so I think another year on his back is really going to do him the world of good. Look, I'll stick up Mr. Fisher, but it's a matter. I totally agree with Helen, by the way, who's emailed in or texted in or whatever, however they're doing it. I think Allaho's a bad fav. I just do not see his form, which entitles him to be this short in the betting, to be honest. Min should probably just about marginally be fave, potentially. His peak form is quite a bit ahead of a lot of these, but he's a 10-year-old now. I'm always happy to take on a 10-year-old. So look, it'll be Mr. Fisher for me, who's been shortening in the bet in the last couple of weeks, which is obviously a good sign.
Another Nicky Henderson. What do you like more, Rixie, the new course or Nicky Henderson?
The new course all day, mate.
I love it. Yeah, maybe a new course walk with Nicky Henderson. Oh,
unreal.
You would love it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I'm going to say something silly now, but yeah, I'd love it. Yeah. Well, I won't say it, but yeah.
Let's move on to the Stayers Hurdle. Prices. But again, this is not how I thought this market would look just before last year's running, if that makes sense. Paisley Park just edging it at the moment on the Matchbook Exchange, Deas. Yeah,
Paisley Park is 4.4, and you have Time Hill is 4.6. Sire Burley is 8.8. Then you have Flooring Porter is 14.0. Roxana is 17.0. Last year's winner, Listnagar Oscar, is 19.0. The Storyteller is 19.5. And Vindication is 24.0 then.
a lot of people are going to pitch this, I think, when they're looking at it as a bit of a, Time Hill, Paisley Park. Is it 1-1 between them? But either way, I think people will be asking you to take sides, if you like. Steve, first of all, you're a Time Hill fan here.
Hey!
Again.
See, you told me to mute every now and then, but you didn't tell me to unmute when I wanted to speak. So, yeah, I can confirm that I do like Time Hill, and I think he's a decent enough bet in this, although it's going to be a competitive field, and you've got Paisley Park in there. But Paisley, although there was reasons for his defeat last year, it just worries me a little bit, and the fact that Time Hill was ever to beat Paisley Park first time up on decentish ground at Newbury, even though he was getting a bit of weight, I thought that was a really good pointer to this race. And I know Paisley Park got his revenge at Ascot, but for me, Time Hill went through that race a lot better than Paisley Park did, and it was only the really, really heavy ground that allowed Paisley Park back into it. And I think on good to soft, even if it was going soft, I don't think Paisley Park would be able to get back up to get Time Hill, because I think this is a very classy horse. He was unlucky in the Albert Bartlett last year, which it's been shown to be a really good race, which sometimes it's not. And I just think he's pretty bomb-proof. I know he's well found in the market, but it's for good reason. I think he's a good bet, actually, yeah.
And there's so little between them. Rixie, you're in the Paisley camp, and you found him last time, actually, and that was a great shout. I think plenty of us couldn't have him based upon what happened on his first start, but he outstayed Time Hill, did he?
Yeah, you're doing this on purpose now to make me and Jonesy fight, aren't you? This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is my bet at the festival, Paisley Park. I think he's going to have no problem maintaining that form with Time Hill. A couple of things are going to be in his favour. I think he's going to be much better on quicker ground. Paisley Park is a serious horse when he's right. He really is. He obviously stays very well, but for his stayer, he's got a fair amount of gears now for a horse who stays well. I think a couple of things are going to be in his favour, that he'll beat Time Hill more comfortably this time. I think the longer straight on that bloody lovely new course is going to be massive for him. The short straight at Ascot was no good. He got into an awful lot of trouble as well with Roxana coming through on his inside, hampered him a little bit. Couldn't pick up on the soft ground either then, but he still managed to mow Time Hill down with a little bit to spare, I think. And then I just think that, as I said, the new course, that lovely long straight, Aidan Coleman's going to be bumping along there after 2 hours. He's going to look like he's beaten. He always does it, behind the bridle, big buck style, and he's just going to fly, and he's just going to pick them all up and win. Paisley Park, nap of the festival for me. Get on.
Love it. Paisley Park wins. And then there's a couple in the Side du Burley camp in the form of Deasy and Matt as well, although everybody on the comments likes the Storyteller. Maybe I can't. Everyone. The only horse that's getting mentioned is the Storyteller. Matt, first of all, go on. Why Side du Burley?
Well, his form last year, both the ratings guys, like Racing Post Ratings and Time Form, and also the Sexual Timings lads, had him ahead of Lisnagar Oscar, that he would have won the race had he run in it. It was a cracking performance to win the Liz Mullen on his seasonal debut over 2.5 in the autumn. That's not his trip at all. Given the tempo of the race and the fact that Gordon's horses weren't running well at Christmas, I'll forgive his defeat at Leopardstown. Gordon said before the Pertemps final last year that he wouldn't be in love with the soft ground he had then. So if it dries out, that will really help. The blinkers have got to keep working, but he would be one of the best win and place bets of the week if they do. Obviously, a slight question mark that he's in Gordon's yard, but assuming he does turn up here, he's 8.8. I think that's a cracking bet.
Dees, what do you want to add to that?
Well, if the Storyteller couldn't beat Sire de Burley last year getting £3, how's he going to beat him off level weights this year? That's what I'd say to all you commenters there now.
Matchbook representative.
Yeah. similar about Time Hill. Time Hill is a bit of an old fanboy horse as well, isn't it? Like I don't think there's anyone in Ireland thinks Time Hill is a good horse, but all you Brits love him for some reason.
Oh, Deasy's coming for everyone. Bloody hell.
When he's looking at him here, and like his prep last year coming into the festival was beating the Cashman by a length and a half. Like Cashman who finds absolutely nothing off the bridle. I can't see Time Hill hitting the frame in this. I think Sire de Burley is a good bet, and I think Flooring Porter as well could be a sneaky one in a bigger price. I wanted to put up Sam's profile, but he doesn't seem to be in there. No, I haven't heard any news on him. He's
non-runner, mate. Should have done your homework.
No, I think Sir Burl is like as Matt said, is a great bet in this winning place, and Paisley Park is a nice one as well. I just wouldn't trust him at the prices, so we'll go for Sir Burl.
Good stuff, Dees. And so NG Racing Media agrees with you. Paisley Park nap of the week, Rixie. We're done there, aren't we? We done, Stayers? Adele, I know you were sitting that one out. So let's move on to the Triumph. Friday, last day of the festival. We all know what happened last year. It was absolute carnage at the last. That's how they bet at the moment. Go on, Dees.
So Zanahiyr, Tritonic has gone favourite now at 3.55. Then you have Zanahiyr as 4.0, Clixios 7.8, French Seal is 8.0, Adagio is 13.5, Duffel Code is 23.0. You've like Naslander is 44.0, Tihupu is 38.0, and big prices down for the rest.
Adele, I know you're a Tritonic fan, but you looked at the price earlier and thought it was maybe a wee bit shorter than you had in mind initially. And that's, I think, obviously he won last time, but also the uncertainty with Gordon Elliott's yard has meant that he's a pretty warm order now towards the top of the betting. How do you see it at the moment?
I think I'm going to stick with him, to be honest with you, for a win bet. I think he was, his credentials were massively boosted in the Adonis, and I think what I think will suit him is that he's only 2 flights of hurdles in the last 3/4 of the mile there at Cheltenham, and I think that is what will play into his strengths. I think once he lands at last, that is where you see his gears come. Obviously, he's got gears from the flat. We've seen that. I think it was placed at what Royal Ascot got off a mark of 99. The horse that he finished second to, Subjectivist, he was a Group 3 and a Group 1 winner on the flat. So he's got plenty of gears, and I think that's what's going to play into his hands at Cheltenham. Obviously, I can see why they were so keen to get another run into him, because he is still green. Of course, it was a real stop-start race, and I thought he handled it so well. They were like going, then they weren't, and he really did listen to his rider. And I think he's a horse that I think will come on massively. Not for his race fitness, but more for him as a horse. In that experience, I think he'll massively come on for that.
God, he was impressive last time. Alan King's done it before as well, although it's been a few years. Jonesy, you are a fan of the horse. I know you said to me earlier, but he's too short for you now. Is that fair?
Who's this Tritonic?
Yeah.
Well, he's owned by a mate of mine, so I really, really hope he wins. But
second name drop of the preview. Yeah.
I didn't name him. Max McNeil. So I hope he wins, but I think the Irish juveniles are a million miles in front of the British ones. And I hate to say it, although Tritonic was really impressive at Kempton in the weekend, I think Kempton's, although it's right-handed and flat and sharp, and Cheltenham's the other way around and undulating, it's a good place because you need speed. And he had a lot of speed to win that. And my problem with it is I thought it was a terrible race. I thought it was a really, really ordinary sort of race. The same horse that finished second to him at Ascot finished second to him again, although he was a lot further in front this time. But there were horses making their hurdles debuts. There was maidens in there. I thought it was a bad race. But when you look at the other horses in Ireland, I think they're on a different level. Zanahiyr, I really hope he wins runs because I think he wins. And I really hope he runs because the other horse I fancy, I can't pronounce. Quilixios or something.
That's not bad. Yeah, we'll take that.
It was with Gordon Elliott. It's one of those that's moved to Henry de Bromhead. But if Zanahiyr turns up, Zanahiyr wins for me.
Okay, and Rixie and NG Racing Media thinks that Quilixios is the most likely winner. Go ahead, Rixie.
Yeah, again, I have actually the complete opposite opinion of Jonesy.
Great. That's why we put you next to each other.
Yeah, I know. I thought Tritonic was pretty good now at Kempton. A couple of people were crabbing his jumping, but okay, he walked through the second last, fair enough. But I thought it's a real sign of his ability. He demolished the second last and he came straight back on the bridle and then jumped the last very well and then scampered away again. And if you are worried about a horse's jumping in the Triumph on that beautiful new course, you shouldn't forget there's only 2 hurdles jumped, I think, in the last 5 or 6 furlongs, something like that, isn't there? So if you can get through the early and middle part of the race, the last part of the contest isn't kind of taxing on jumping. Look, I love Trictonic. I love Quilixios and I love Zana here. French Seal is probably a potential fly in the ointment, but just at the prices, Quilixios for me. I just think there's not that much between him and Zani here, and he's a much bigger price. So we shall see.
The only person that can pronounce Quilixios but not Tritonic. Great stuff, Rixie. Susie, have you got anything here, Matt?
No, I was quite keen on Quilixios, but I'm a little bit worried about a juvenile moving yard more than most, so I'm probably going to sit this one out.
Lovely stuff. Fine, no problem. I know you are too Dees. Let's move on to the Albert Bartlett, or as we know fondly as the potato race. It's open. It would be. It's the Albert Bartlett. Go on, Dees.
So Statler running in the sponsors' colours is 6.8. Then Fakira is 8.8. Torregraph is 9.2. Barbados Bucks is 10.5. Alaphilippe is 12.0. The new Farouk Deline is 18.0. Adramel is 18.5. 305 is 18.5. And big prices then for the rest of them.
Fakira a bit shorter than you thought he was going to be, Dees?
He's actually at the drifting from when I threw it into the WhatsApp chat there during the week. Yeah, he's 8.8 now. I just think he's the good kind of horse for this. He's had plenty of racing. He's good and tough. He'll stay. This isn't the race I ever get too involved in during the festival. I'm generally just playing for the Gold Cup by the time this comes around and having a few points and counting on my dockets. So, but I think Fakira is the kind of horse I like to back in this because again this is the other stats for this, that you need a horse that has a good few runs, a bit of experience, and then Nelindo comes on and has only run once and bolts up at whatever price he was. But I think Fakira was something I kind of picked up for this from a long way out and happy enough with the price. Small win in the place, and yeah, that's it.
He seemed to run the perfect sort of trial for this last time, Rixie.
Yeah, he did. Look, this is a race that I haven't really got a good record in it, to be honest, but I actually really, really like Fakira in this race. I think he's tailor-made for it. I thought he did incredibly well to run as well as he did the last day because he had an awful trip. He was wide for so much of it. He was held up in a race that wasn't run at an overly strong gallop, and just the way he flew home was really eye-catching. The other thing with him is you see him move. I think he's going to be a much, much better horse on decent ground. He doesn't glide across the ground. He kind of paws at the ground. But I just think he's going to bring his form forward again. Every run this season, he's got better and better. And the other thing that I really noticed about him was he had an SP of 9-1 that day at the Dublin Racing Festival. At 11 o'clock that morning, he was 14-1. So obviously the Elite Yard had been seeing something in him that he's improved. And then to be fair to him, we saw that in the race because he got better again. So it's a race that I don't have a good record in, but I just really fancy Fakira this year. But then obviously the caveat is we don't know if he's probably going to run yet. Potentially if he's going to, if Gordon Elliott's going to have runners, if the owner, I think Tim O'Driscoll is his name, if he potentially moves into another yard, we don't know. But if he goes and we've got some decent ground, I do like him.
So a couple of shouts for Fakira. Helen has said, who's the dirty old bruiser in the potato race? And the reason I want to pick up on that, and she then says, or is it old hat looking for that profile? Is there a profile, Matt, that you tend to look for in this contest? I know that a few of the lads have talked about experience being key for it. What type of experience?
Yeah, definitely simple experience over hurdles in terms of number of hurdles runs is one bit of it. But I think one of the biggest underbet factors is graded hurdle winning form over 3 miles or further. You think that'd be a pretty obvious type of form, but in reality, punters tend to see the horses winning the 3 mile graded hurdles through the winter as slow old boats who won't be good enough for the festival. And they tend to latch on to those with flashy profiles from form at shorter. So horses that have won a graded hurdle over 3 miles or further are 6 from 39 so far. You've made 131% profit backing them blind. So they're the sorts I like. Whilst you'd be cautious about relying on historic field sizes this year, you normally get something close to a full field of 20. So it's not a race where I try and find much in the place market. It's so uncertain to try and find something that's going to run into the 3. I tend to have a couple of shots at long odds. The literal qualifiers from that rule this year, there's Alaphilippe, who won the Prestige, and the Cobb, who won the River Don. Now, he needs to be supplemented, but Ben Pauling said that if all goes well, they are planning on supplementing. And he ran in a race where they looked to go a proper gallop and improved out of all recognition from his short and intermediate trip form. He's going to be a fair price. So assuming he does turn up, I might well be backing him, but it will probably be loosing off a couple at a big price. And you're in the same boat with Alaphilippe, Jonesy?
Yeah, I like him. He's had a very low-key start to life in the fact that he won a bumper at Fosslas and then went to Ayr and Sedgefield to win. But at Taunton, he ran a horse called Stella Magic very close, giving him £4. And I think Stella Magic, although he didn't run at all well the next time, there must have been something wrong with him. And I thought that was a really good race. Tile Tapper was back in 3rd, and he had finished the same position previously in the Tolworth. So there was a lot of substance to it. And what he did when he stepped up to 3 miles, to be able to have the pace to finish that close around a sharp track like Taunton over 2-3 and then go up to 3 miles, I think shows a very classy horse. And he bolted up at Haydock. I know he's left clear by Young Buck unseating 2 out of 3 out. I just really impressed with that. And I was quite pleased, actually. I thought Matt was going to say, oh, graded form over 3 miles is terrible. So the fact that's a good thing, it makes me think that my old man Fergal might get a Cheltenham winner, because this is an open race, I think, and it's there for the taking for a horse like him. I like his chances. I wouldn't go massively on him, but I think winning place, he'd give us a good run for our money.
Berg, how's he going? Love it. Should we move on to the Gold Cup? The big one. This is it's album photo time. 4.0. What else we got, DC?
Album photo is 4.0. Then you have Champ at 6.2. Applutard is 7.0. Santini is 15.0. Kimboy is 15.5. Manila Indo is 15.0. Loads of them are 15.0. Native River is 17.5. Royal Pagay is 18.5. And then anything you want on the rest of them.
Adele, we didn't hear from you from the Albert Bartlett, so take it away here. Were you impressed with Champ's prep run for this?
Yeah, I was very, and I know obviously Nikki was, a lot of people was like thinking, what are you doing? Bringing him back in trip, but it served its purpose, didn't it? Also, it was nice. It was interesting to hear as well about him going and doing some schooling with Henrietta Knight. That's fantastic for them to go and do, because they lose schooling. And Nico went down as well, and you kind of he'll stand there and obviously watch him and how he jumps. And Henrietta obviously give her little advice, and then what they do is then he'll get on board and kind of school him there as well, and trying to put that into play. And I thought that was what I was mostly impressed with was his jumping. So what price was he again?
He's 6.2.
So not a bad price. You could even play him at a place market. See what he does on the day. See if he drifts out. See if he comes in with a bit of money. And I just thought for a place value even bigger, I thought Matt Santini who was beaten the neck by Album Photo. And I think, he's had his excuses this season. Aintree probably just didn't suit him with fences being taken out. And obviously, Aidan didn't give him a very hard ride last time out either. Once he was beaten, I think he kind of, wasn't hard on him, I think, but it was perfect probably chance for him to get to know him as well at the same time. So he should know him a little bit better for that. So given he's such a big price, I thought I think they're both worth a place bet, to be honest with you.
Both the Nicky Henderson inmates then, Champ and Santini. DC, you agree with Santini?
I do, and just on a price thing, I think he's far too big a price. He hasn't run great this year, but Nicky Henderson is only going to be training him for this race, and he wasn't beaten far at all. I watched the finish again last night. If there was another 50 yards, 100 yards, I think he would have got up to win. So just based on the price, I think he's too big. I think on the day I will probably back Champ to win though, because I was on him for the RSA last year, and you all laughed. Well, you didn't, but you did, Tom. And I'll keep reminding you about that forever. But I thought he was brilliant last year. I mean, for all that he jumped completely terrible all the way around, he's a massive engine. I've no bottom with him prepping over 2 miles from Coastar, ran over 2 miles most years and ran very well in the World Cup. I think he's a high class horse, and again he will be cherry ripe for this. 6.2 is a fair enough price, so I'll probably back Santini winning place and Champ just to win at that price.
Matt, both the guys there, Adele and DC, agree on the same horses, but talking about Champ stepping up from 2 miles, what have you got for us on that?
Well, two different stats. There's one about horses who've never run beyond 3 mile or 3 mile half a furlong, and going off near the front of the market. The Gold Cup's been a great race for the front of the market. 17 of the 20 winners this century have come from the front 3 in the SP market. And horses that have gone off a single figure price and had never run beyond 3 mile half a furlong are 7 from 14 this century. You made a 216% profit backing them blind. And every year you get a lot of debate about, will these horses stay the trip? You've got A Plus Tard and Champ at the front of the market stepping up. You couldn't ask for two horses who, on their main 3 mile runs, the RSA for Champ and the Savills for A Plus Tard, who look more like they were going to improve for the step up in trip. So providing you get decent ground, speed is the underplayed figure, the underbet factor in the Gold Cup. So I think that's a positive for both of them. There's also a stat about horses running over 2 miles. Clearly that's pretty unusual. It's very rare for horses to prep over 2 miles as Champ did in the Game Spirit. The last was Tikram, who was 100 to 1 shot 15 years ago. The only one this century to prep over 2 miles and go off with a realistic chance was Comanche Court, who was 4th in the Newlands chase before being 2nd at 25 to 1. You'd be a little bit worried about a Champ being too keen, but a few horses recently have run over 2 miles earlier in the season. Sizing John won, and Annabelle Fly, who's the other one who's done it, was placed at 22 and 33 to 1. So the actual speed of being able to line up in those good races over 2 miles is a really underbet factor in the Gold Cup, and it's a positive for both Champ and A Plus Tard.
Would you back them both, Matt, or not at those current prices?
I'd definitely be looking at those prices because the front of the market dominates so well. I think the front 3 are all a little bit bigger than they should be. I've backed A Plus Tard. I think that the reason I really like him is he's got the perfect blend of speed and stamina. Talked about that run in the 4 Tria, but he really was staying on in the end of the Savills where everything went wrong. He got stuck in behind Allahu and Fakir Duderi, had to use his energy inefficiently in catching up, but still managed to do it. He's got that sort of neat jumping style where he preserves energy but doesn't land running. So it's much better suited to the Gold Cup trip than trying to gain track advantage over 2 miles. So he's had the ideal prep. I think he'll improve again for stepping up in trip. And he is about 7.2. That looks a cracking bet to me. I like him and Champ, but prefer A Plus Tard.
And you mentioned the horse that heads the betting as well, potentially being too big. Rixie, you think the horse is going to do the three-peat?
Yeah, I do. I think Album Photo is going to do it again, or I hope he does. It's been interesting there, kind of everyone's kind of touched on stamina. I think a really underrated factor in this race, and maybe now Matt's stats actually don't back me up, But I just think that extra 2.5 furlongs, you know, you've got horses like, you always probably remember Florida Pearl, don't you? It was so good over 3 miles, but then just the Gold Cup trip was just, you know, that little bit too much for him. Probably, but obviously it's an extra, they probably go a stride quicker as well. It's a proper race. That beautiful new course as well. It's a stamina test, isn't it? And then obviously the extra trip. So I just think what Alboom for, he's got a couple of things in his favour. I think that proven stamina, I think, is a massive asset. I really do. He's obviously trained by Willie Mullins. Willie couldn't win a bloody Gold Cup for God knows how long, and then he's probably going to win 3 in a row now. The other thing is, I think in terms of tactic, we saw great versatility in him last year. His first Gold Cup was run at an end-to-end gallop, and he obviously thrived off it. Last year was a much more tactical race. He got a good ride from Paul Townend as well, and he's just got that versatility about him. And then just in terms of ability, I've got him in terms of ratings. Let me just see it here. I've got him on 166. Ciampa's Santini's actually the closest to him on 165 based on his run last year. But I think Santini had his chance last year. I'm not too sure about him this year. And then I've got Champ and Frode on both. Champ and A Plus Tard both on 160. So he's got a few pounds to play over with those on my figures. So look, I think Alboom Fo was gonna do it. So we shall see. I think he should be shorter in the market as well, to be fair. I really do. Willie Mullins has been speaking to him lately as well on Sky Sports Racing. It sounds like, if you remember, Willie said he had a serious piece of work to do there about 10 days ago. By the sounds of it, they were very happy with what they saw there. So we shall see. Alboom Fo for the three-peat. There's actually an interesting story in this race. If Champ does beat him, Champ's dam, I think, is a half-sister to Best Mate, who was the other horse to win 3 Gold Cups. So there's a bit of a story there. If he beats Alboom Fo, so keeping it one for the family there. If Champ goes and wins it.
Superb stuff. Someone's done their prep. Deas. That's great stuff. I'm gonna bring in Adam Tinsley, who says, "Can't believe nothing for Native River because Adam, Steve Jones, step forward."
Well, I do agree with a lot of what Rixie said. I think Alboom Photo could easily be shorter. There'll be worse favourites that are shorter than him at the Cheltenham Festival. But like Rixie says, it's won by stamina. Horses that can stay that extra 2 furlongs. You mentioned Florida Pearl and One Man and Wayward Lad and horses like that just couldn't get up the hill. Well, this boy gets up the hill. He did it to Mike Bite when Mike Bite came cruising to him, saw him off in the Gold Cup. And I know he was beaten by Alboom Photo when he won his first Gold Cup quite convincingly, but he didn't look himself that day. He didn't start particularly well, and he took a while to get into the race, and it wasn't really soft enough for him. Now, the winter we've had, it's been so wet, the key is going to be the weather during the week. So if it rains on Thursday, it's going to be really testing. So fingers crossed it rains on Thursday, because everyone's forgotten about Native River for one reason and one reason only, and that's because he's old. But that performance at Sandown last time was as good as anything he's done throughout his career. I mean, it was just sensational. And there's not many horses, even at this level, can lay up with his jumping. He is the best jumper you will ever see. And if he starts getting into that rhythm out in front, there's no way that he's not going to be on the premises, if it's soft ground especially, because that'll sort them out then. These ones, like Matt says, the quicker horses, they'll be like Mike Bite, cruises up, cuts out. And I was surprised by Champ, because I don't think he can jump very well, but they've sorted him out. So I was quite surprised, but I was impressed with him. But he won't lay out with Native River once he gets upsides that big old bruiser. And I know you have to go back a bit to find the last winner, 11-year-old winner. Well, the last 11-year-old winner was a 12-year-old winner. What a myth, 1969. But I don't see any reason why he won't run well. He could win. It genuinely could win. I've talked myself into it.
I think when we put up on social media and we put quotes, we're definitely going to quote the last 11-year-old winner was a 12-year-old winner. That is definitely.
I'm now going to look at the last 11-year-old winner, but you have to go right back. So it is Mandarin 62.
There you go.
Mandarin.
I think that whole speech there was Jonesy's Kevin Keegan moment, wasn't it?
If you go back in the breeding, Mandarin Native River, great aunt's housemaid is related to them. So it's all there, isn't it?
We've definitely gone beyond 2 hours, haven't we? Right. This is why you start with the Gold Cup on a Cheltenham preview evening. Right. Everyone's had a go at the Gold Cup, right? Everyone. Good. We had a fair bit of an agreement with Champ and Santini, Matt with Aplutard as well, and album photo Rixie, and I can't remember who Jonesy put up. Native River for Jonesy. Good stuff. Time to take a pause before we do the best bets and handicap bets. DC, step forward. Just remind us of the new customer sign-up offer if you can.
So our new sign-up offer, which will be going live from tomorrow, is 0% commission on all sports. So if you open an account tomorrow, enter the bonus code INSIGHTS, and you will get 0% commission on everything until April the 12th. So that'll cover Cheltenham and Aintree and all the fun sport and in between.
And we'll put the URL up for that after the best bets for those of you watching. The URL will go up after best bets. You get the best prices there, guaranteed, without that commission. Right. Best handicap bet. Adele, take it away. Your best handicap bet at the festival.
Well, I don't know what the price is for this, but I'm going to go with Hugri. Is it Hugri? In the Frederick Winter, who was third in a Grade 1 at Chepstow on his stables. That was I think it was stable debut. He looks a really nice horse. They paid €200,000 for him. So for handicap, I think he could run a big race. I'm going to have him. Place market depending on what price he is.
I'm going to get these for you at the end, if you don't mind. Matt Toombs, who is your best bet?
It's in the Grand Annual. Unlike the other festival handicaps, the best guide to the Grand Annual is previous Grand Annual form, Dumar Chase's most specialist division. And in the last 15 renewals, horses that have previously run in the race are 8 from 97. They made a 93% profit backing them blind. The one I like is Us and Them, Joseph O'Brien's horse. He's got a strong hand in this. He has a good record over fences at the festival. He was second in the Arkle 2 years ago. He was third off 148 in this last year, having been beaten 52 lengths, 87 lengths and 31 lengths on his previous 3 runs. Classic Grand Annual profile of coming up with a row of duck eggs next to his name. Hasn't done any better this season. He's got no closer than 25 lengths to the winner of any of the 4 handicaps he's contested so far. He's a pound lower this year on 147. Been plenty of money for him today, and he's around about a 20-1 shot. But at this early stage, he's my best handicap bet.
Plot job is what you're saying, and 21.0. Hugri 8.0. Adele for yours. DC, your best handicap bet?
I've put him up for the Supreme, but he's after being punted off the boards for the county today. So I'm going to put up Ganapati. If he runs in the county hurdle off 140, I think he'll go very close. And just one for that isn't in a handicap is Glenzavantrum in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. Has run very well behind Statler so far this year, over 2.5 miles. She opened up at 34.0 and is now half the price in a week. Won by JP McManus, I think, and chained by William Mullins. I think she'll go very well in that race.
Ganapathy 11.0 for the county has been back. Rixie, your best handicap bet for the week?
Best handicap. Well, I'm probably going to mention 3 if that's okay. But fine. Probably the best one I'm going to take on, Matt, with Embittered in the Grand Annual. I just think this horse is crying out for a strong run race on decent ground where he can get some cover. He got decent ground in a strong run race at Christmas, but Joseph's horses weren't right. There's a chance Gigginstown might run him in the Arkle, I don't know, but he's got no chance in that. So I hope they run him in the handicap. The other 2 I just give a quick mention to. I do like Paul Nichols's Soldier of Love in the Ultima. he's got form behind Galvin, and I think he's weighted fairly. I think he's going to need decent ground as well. So if they get loads of rain, he probably won't run. And the other horse I'm interested in is Gavin Cromwell. Hasn't been firing the last couple of months, but his Gabinaco is a really, really nice horse. He's entered in the Martin Pipe and he's entered in the Coral Cup. I'm interested in him. He's a really fluent moving horse. I think a strong run race on nice ground, where he sits up close to the pace, I think will really suit him. It was interesting, they dropped him in the last day at Leopardstown and it just looked like they were potentially happy with their mark for Cheltenham, but he made a bad mistake, I think, at the second, and he never got into the race after that. So those are just three to keep an eye on. Obviously, with handicaps, in theory, all horses have an equal chance of winning, and stuff like ground and pace and all that's going to be important. We don't know what that is, but those were just three from the quick look that I had earlier that jumped out to me.
Embittered, who was your dark horse to follow this year, and I think, and you did say in that actually that he could be a horse that ends up in this, and there you go. He is 17.0 for that contest. And Jonesy,
per temps, Come On Teddy, who bolted up at Cheltenham back in November, and has come out since in per temps qualifier at Warwick and finished third to Imperial Alcazar, where nothing went right. It was held up in the rear. They didn't go very quick and got into all sorts of trouble on the home turn, but stayed on to third and keeps that same sort of mark. So I think he's got a great chance. He beat On the Blind Side. I know he's getting a stack of weight at Cheltenham, but that was a good performance. And Tom George has been quite quiet during the winter, but had 3 winners last Friday, Saturday, including the big race winner. And I think Come On Teddy is a lovely, lovely horse.
17.0, Come On Teddy for the per temps. And then best bets, festival best bets. Simple as that. We know some of them already. Jonesy, repeat your festival best bet for me, please. Well,
in the comments on the side where we can talk to each other, Deasy called me a melon head. So I'm going to take that as a compliment, because I think we're going to end up with a few quid from the melon. In the Ryanair, that is.
Right, melon in the Ryanair for Steve Jones. Rixie, the double P?
Paisley Park for me, yeah. Nat material, thank you.
Paisley Park in the Stayers. DC, your best bet?
It came to pass in the Fox Hunters chase. It balled up and closed down a few bookies around our Cork, I'd say.
I love that. He's gone for one of the Fox Hunters. Matt, are you going for one of the Fox Hunters, or are you mentioned you might earlier to me? Are you swerving that?
No, I'm going to go with that and take DC on. Bob and Co, who, much a big fan as I am of the amateurs like David Maxwell riding, going to get a big advantage with either Sean Bowen or Harry Cobden on here. He spread eagled a good field of hunters in the Walrus at Haydock last time. 1 or 2 chancy jumps, but they had a racing post rating of 155 there. That's a very high standard to bring to this. And if he jumps round, I think he's the most likely winner of this. I think he's even better than Billaway, and it came to pass.
If you'd have told me that we were going to get 2 best bets in the Fox Hunters, I wouldn't have believed you, but it has somehow happened, which is great. And Adele, your best bet for the festival, please.
I already said it's Honeysuckle, and I forgot to say I don't know how important it will be. Anyone follows the time form ratings, but she also has a £3 higher time form rating coming into that than what Epatante did. So just try and make a case a little bit stronger for her.
Yeah, it'd be important to some, definitely. Honeysuckle for you, your best bet in the Champion Hurdle. Well, I promised under 2 hours and we've gone a little bit over, but there you go. Apologies. You can go, as we said, for that sign-up offer, matchbook.com/promo/insights. Thank you very much to those of you who've commented and stayed with us throughout the whole of it. That's much, much appreciated. And of course, you can go back and watch it because it's going to be up there for good now up until the festival. So anything you missed out on, you can go back and watch. Adele, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you very much. Had a good few comments in appreciating the stats. So thank you for all of those as well.
Thank you.
DC, great stuff. Thank you very much, bud. You can take the wallpaper down now. And Rixie and Jonesy, you can kiss and make up. Lovely. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Matchbook Cheltenham Festival preview. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Best of luck at the festival. Not too far away. Bye-bye.